All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Straight Talk, and this is your host. This is my first time saying it. This is your host, Isaiah. So, we got one for tonight, and a lot of people are um, up in arms as to what is going on with uh, Africa, what is going on with Europe, what's going on with America and Trump and the Senate and the Congress, and all of what is going on with the down low people, Republicans, who are truly disaffected Democrats from the 1960s when LBJ said we're going to give black people their uh, Trump card, more or less. So they left the Democratic Party and came over to the Republican Party. This is what we're dealing with. These people are not Republicans by heart, by blood, by sweat. They are Democrats. So when I tell you, and I remember when he was the Speaker of the House, Dennis Hastert, who went to jail for molesting children. This shit is running deep in the U.S. Senate and Congress. I don't remember if you remember a guy, Hawthorne. He was a congressman and he was in a wheelchair. And somebody came up on him and said, "Want to come to a party?" I said, "Yeah, I mean, it's a sexual party." Like, what the fuck are you talking about? A sexual party? That's what he said. And so this shit runs deep. And white folks have a lock on this shit since they had it going on in Greenville. These people cannot stop and will not stop and don't care to stop. It's their nature, by nature, to do it. And so tonight, we're going to not only take a look at that, but also whether or not Erica Kirk had been trafficking children, her mother. Now, I'm not saying this. I have no first-hand knowledge of it. I'm only going by what I've seen and what I've heard. We're going to look at that somewhat credible evidence, uh, credible source. But tonight, like every Tuesday and Saturday, we're really focusing on the good shit, powerful shit, the powerful changes that are going on the continent of Africa and what that means. And most recently, there was a flotilla of aid ships off the coast of Israel in the Mediterranean Sea that sequestered or kidnapped or kept the grandson of Nelson Mandela, which triggered a constitutional article number 5 from Africa. And I can tell you right now, it's hell on wheels. You touch one, you touch all. That is the motto of the current government of Africa. You touch one, you touch all. It's not a matter of weeks that you let that young man go. It's a matter of hours. And when I tell you that the weapons coming out of Africa are beyond the pale, and that the Mossad has nothing, the MI6 has nothing, the CIA, FBI, DEA, the NSA, the whatever out of America has nothing on Shaka Zulu, Shaka Unit Zulu. Is that right? Shaka Unit Zulu. That is correct, right? So we're going to be looking at all of that and giving you the latest updates as to what is going on in Africa and the breakdown of the most current situations that are happening. Hold on. So I'm hoping you guys can hear me. If you can't, please let me know because it's kind of hard to judge. whether that's the case, and I don't want to be on here for 2 hours, 2.5 hours, and you guys can't hear me or it's muffled, something like that. So we're gonna get out of here and go right on into the show, and share screen, and like always, giving you the straight back, straight talk. So the first one is Black American furious after second autopsy revealed the truth about the Trey Reed's death. Now, this one was done by Colin Kaepernick, and he found it within him that it is necessary to do a second autopsy. And look, when are we as a people in America going to say enough is enough? White folks ain't our friends. They don't like you niggers, and niggers nowhere on the globe. Politically, economically, spiritually, they got your ass trapped. And to singing and holding hand, kumbaya. Fuck all that shit, let that shit go. It's high time, because if you touch one, you touch all. Because if you don't do anything now, the next motherfucker is going to be you. Touch one of us, you touch us all. So with that, I'm going to let this play out, and it just really affected me. Now, I'm not saying I hate white folks just to be hating. I'm hating these motherfuckers because they are truly the great embodiment of greatness. No, they are the epitome of the venomous hate and the love of injustice that they do all the time. I'll be right back.
University in Cleveland, Mississippi, who was found hanging on campus on September 8th or thereabouts. Now, the first official autopsy ruled his death a suicide, that he hung himself. But let's be real, so many people are saying that black people don't hang themselves. And as a 21-year-old with his whole life ahead of him, it doesn't just add up. And even if he wanted to do something like that, not in front of his school. So while the state autopsy said hanging, there has been another autopsy, a second autopsy that has reportedly revealed different findings. And because of this, people are now calling out the school, the police, and even hospital, accusing them of, trying to cover up what truly happened to Trey. So guys, let's get into today's video, and do also, let me know what you guys think in the comment section. I'll be right back.
So there has been an update on Trey Reed, the black man who was found hanging from a tree at Delta State University in Cleveland, Mississippi. Keep in mind that an autopsy was done by the county and his death was ruled a suicide. However, there was a second private autopsy done, which was paid for by Colin Kaepernick, and these are the updates we have now. According to reporting from the Chicago Crusader, a second autopsy reportedly shows blunt force trauma to the back of Trey Reed's head that was not reported in the first autopsy done by the county. Trey was found partially hanging from a belt that wasn't his. It was 3 sizes too big, with no marks or injuries on his neck consistent with hanging. Delta State University officials lied to his mother, initially telling her that he died in his dorm, and they also misrepresented what clothes he was wearing when he was found. The spot where Trey was discovered is well known for being one of the only areas on campus without cameras. Trey's phone was not returned to his family as evidence, yet his GPS showed it was moving. A suspicious text that read, "The buckle broke," was sent from his phone, raising questions about whether it was staged. And days before his death, Trey had reportedly gotten into an altercation with a group of white students after defending a black classmate who was attacked online for criticizing Charlie Kirk. Scream if any of this information is surprising. Exactly. You see how it's as quiet as a J-Lo concert in here? I said it before and I will continue to say it. Black men do not hang themselves from trees. Hope this helps. Peace and love. See you later.
The coroner needs to be investigated. The police who try to rush and close this case and call it a suicide needs to be investigated. This family has been failed on every level. Now the second autopsy has came in, paid for by Colin Kaepernick. The DSU student had blunt force trauma to the back of his head. They beat this young man, and now they're trying to rule it as a suicide. This is just modern day lynching packed up as suicide now. The truth about what happened to Trey Reed cannot be buried. It cannot be covered up by officials and not by the police. That town is trying to cover it up. Justice for Trey Reed.
I'm here
Hold
with unit here visiting the Meraki Hospital. Trey Reed, a 21-year-old black student at Delta State University in Cleveland, Mississippi, was found hanging from a tree on campus. Local authorities, including the medical examiner, was quick, super quick, to rule his death a suicide. But the family was not buying it. With the help of Colin Kaepernick and his organization, Know Your Rights Camp Autopsy Initiative. I broke the news earlier today with Krista Muhammad of the Black Panther Party on my Weekly Live channel that the autopsy revealed Trey had a fractured skull, the back of his head. He had contusions, he had bruises on his back and buttocks, meaning that they stomped him fast. They didn't just bust him in the back of the head, kill him, they stomped him. Now, you got a lot of uncivilized mutts out there who are mad at Colin Kaepernick, even more mad at him because they were mad at him when they first heard the news announced that he would pay for the autopsy. They were saying things like, because the investigation, the official investigation, had already ruled the death a suicide, that Colin Kaepernick should just leave it alone. The critics argued that Colin inserted himself into the case for publicity, suggesting that his involvement was an inflammatory move that cast undue suspicion on an official ruling. Now, why would we have undue suspicion on an official ruling? Our so honest. How would anybody ever doubt them? Yeah, man. Some of them accuse Colin Kaepernick of paying for the autopsy to stay relevant. It's Colin Kaepernick. He's in history. He's going to always be relevant. But by now, civilized facts. Yeah. See, what they're really mad about, fam, is that they couldn't just sweep that under the rug. Like, yeah, kill him. Like, hey, like, just sweep it under the rug. But he was going back to the big city. Yeah. They also said that he was just trying to create controversy. Also, they said that he was fueling racial tensions. Critics argued that Colin Kaepernick's high-profile involvement and the history of racial violence in Mississippi would unnecessarily stoke racial tensions by suggesting a cover-up. Authorities found no evidence of foul play. If Mississippi is indeed...
Today, a young black man was found hanging from a tree. His name was Trey Reed. At 7 a.m. this morning at Delta State University in Mississippi, they said that he killed himself. The sheriff's department said there was no foul play, yet his arm and his leg were broken. Trey Reed was hanged right next to the pickleball courts in the middle of Delta State University. And the school didn't file any type of emergency shutdown. Yeah, class was canceled, but nothing else happened. This type of violence against black and brown bodies is so normalized that all they feel they have to do is cancel class for the day. Now, if you're more upset by the unaliving of Charlie Kirk than you are by the lynching of Trey Reed and the countless before him, something's wrong with you. You need to assess, you need to internalize, you need to look within. Tomorrow, tonight, you need to figure out why you're racist. If you're righteously angry, as we all should be, no matter what you look like, don't allow these motherfuckers to pacify your rage and tell you what to do with that energy. Rest in power, Trey Reed.
All right, everybody. So we have an update on Trey Reed, the man who was found hanging from a tree at the college university. After reading a report from the Chicago Crusader, they said a second autopsy was done, paid for by Colin Kaepernick. The original autopsy said that there was no foul play and he pretty much took his own life. Obviously, this was questionable because we all know as Black people, we don't support this. Even if Black people are going to take their life, it's not going to be hanging from a tree. So the Crusader stated that there was no visual signs of him hanging actually from a tree. He was only found partially hanging. He himself sent out a text message from his phone saying that the buckle broke and his GPS was reported that it was moving around. The original autopsy did not show that there was blunt force trauma to the back of the head, nor could the autopsy show when exactly did he die. Obviously, fork found in fucking kitchen. This sounds like the work of we already know. But reportedly, he had an altercation with white students more recently, because he was defending a Black woman because she commented something on the death of Charlie Kirk. People, I will keep you updated on this as it progresses.
Trey Reed's second autopsy came back, and they ass in trouble. Delta State University is in trouble. I told y'all that they were gonna lie. I told y'all they were trying to cover that shit up. Look at this shit. Blunt force trauma to the back of the head. Hear me out. Blunt force trauma to the back of the head. Y'all some pussies. Y'all had to wait till that man back would turn just to knock him out, just to get him in the tree. And I told y'all, people from Mississippi don't unalive themselves by hanging themselves. What really pissed me off that it was Black men in my inbox telling me that, oh, they're like Black men don't hang themselves. They don't. They don't. Where you from? Another thing, for the people that telling me to shut up and stop posting the family, me and Trey Reed mama already talked. We talked like 2 weeks ago. She had already hit me up and was thanking me. I'm not even gonna show y'all the message, but I am gonna say this. She said that she's not scared. She's not running. They doing everything in this world to break that woman. But at least y'all can do is support her. Because remember, Delta State University, they lied to this lady. In the first hour of them finding Trey Reed in a tree, they had already said he did it himself. It was a suicide. I told y'all that was a lie. And I keep getting this message right here. Chief of police is Black. The coroners, they Black. The DA is Black. Why would they cover everything up? Shit, that's what we trying to find out. That's what we trying to find out. Why would they cover it up? Guess it's better than mine. Matter of fact, ask Delta State why they covering it up. Ask Delta State how much money they paid them to try to cover it up. The thing is that Delta State University didn't know that they were going to do a second autopsy. Because let's just be honest, how did you miss the blunt force trauma on the first autopsy? How did you miss that? Ain't no way y'all missed that.
Yes, sir.
If you are looking for easygoing pen pals, try this platform. On this site, it's
money. Let me just say this as well. They know exactly who did it to Trey Reed. They know exactly how many it was. They even know the names who did it. Guess what? They gonna hide that too. You really think them white folks and let their kids be all over the news? They gonna fuck their whole family history up. That shit ain't finna happen. Them white folks finna pay how much money they can pay to save their kids' face. Like I told y'all, all this shit is about money, and saving their family face. Now, the way they did Trey Reed was probably like a 2 or 3 minute process. It hit him back of the head, knocked him unconscious. It had to been like 3 or 4 people just to pull this shit off. I gotta remember, that rope was already tied and ready to go. But once they knocked him out, only thing they had to do was put the rope around him and just and go. That's a 2 or 3 minute process with 3 or 4 dudes involved. It happened that fast. Now, all the students that's at Delta State University, y'all better listen up and listen up closely. Them kids that did that to Trey Reed, they gonna get away scot-free. One of y'all gonna be next. Because guess what? If they feel like they can walk around in groups, if you have to, use air tags. If you walk by yourself, be on the phone with somebody that can protect you, that's close by to you. Like I said before, stop the partying down there. Right now, shit finna get hot for Delta State. Shit finna get hot for Delta State University right now. I'm gonna sit back and I'm gonna pay attention and see what Delta State University got to say about all this shit that's going on and why they lied, and we're gonna get to the bottom of this shit.
You know what's even sadder? This same story happened around that time Charlie Kirk died. But unlike Charlie Kirk, Trey's story never made the headline. Nobody talked about him. The only people who spoke up were Black Americans, and it's like the rest of the world didn't care. the police didn't take it seriously and the media barely touched it. Now here we are again, and instead of transparency, it looks like they are trying to hide what really happened. Because if you ask me, I don't believe Trey committed suicide. I don't see any reason why a 21-year-old with so much ahead of him would take his own life, and definitely not in front of his school. It just doesn't make sense. And I just hope his family doesn't relent, because Trey deserves justice. This was someone's son, this was someone's brother, and just like people kept shouting that Charlie Kirk was someone's father, someone's sons, blah blah blah. We cannot forget that Trey Reed was somebody's son too, and he deserves the same outcry, the same demand for justice. So guys, let me know what you guys think, and please share it to more people to hear about Trey's story. I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.
All right, well, man, I feel some kind of way with that one. Not that I didn't feel no less or more for the other of our people who have died at the hands of these uncivilized mutts, at the hands of these fucking animals. It is just unreal that some of us have yet to turn on the switch to say no more. I just don't get it. I mean, this shit don't happen here in the Dominican Republic. God forbid it be somebody white killing somebody black. Your ass is just as dead as a motherfucker trying to kill, as one Dominican kill the other. We don't get down like that. We're fucking kidding. Damn near everybody got a gun. So rest in peace, my brother Trey Reed. I'm fucking real. That cuts deep. So this is the next one. Is the model of present day Africa. You touch one, you touch them. And I've said this on Brother Muhammad's show, Brother Marik Muhammad, that Africa is going to be coming out with weapons that will fuck you up, blow your goddamn mind. Because you see what happened, what is happening now. We're getting reparations from France and Europe to the tune of some $4 trillion. You know why? Because we're forcing it. There are 4 levels to power: politics, economic, spirituality, and military or physical. When you got a fucking gun pointed to your head, locked, and how do you say it? Ready to go? Ready to go, and it's against your fucking head, either your fucking signature or your brain's gonna be on that goddamn paper. Africa has already sank a United Nation or NATO warship. They are sleeping very well at the bottom of the ocean in Atlantic. I kid you not. Go back and see some of my other videos. I go into detail about it. Africa had control of the Atlantic Ocean, had control of the Suez Canal, had control of the Mediterranean Ocean, had control of the Indian Ocean. We're not fucking playing. Yeah, we're not fucking playing. Try to be nice and go along to get along to do all that shit don't work. They'll give you a modicum of support and love, but the bottom line of it all, power conceives nothing without demand. Nothing. A broke motherfucker can only get so much. But when you got power and authority, the whole world comes to you. And this is exactly what is happening with Africa right now. BRICS is the Southern Global Black Man dictatorial in the best way against white wannabe global military, psychological, economic, political mandate that we've been following all the time. And you're going to see it. And that it's time to take control. Hey, time to take control. And we are doing it. And this is a great lead into the next video. I'll be right back.
Breaking. Israel takes African aid team hostage. AU sends 20 stealth bombers. By Takunda Mabika, Supreme African News. Tisu Banhubacho. Supreme family, make sure you smash that like button, share this video, and subscribe, because today's story is a whole movie, and not the feel-good type. We're talking military jets in the air, secret ultimatums on the table, and one of the most explosive diplomatic crises Africa has ever faced. According to leaked intelligence obtained by SABN, the African Union has allegedly deployed 20 next-generation stealth bombers 1980, built right here on African soil, and positioned them within striking distance of Israel. And why? Because Israel has reportedly taken a South African humanitarian delegation hostage in Gaza, including none other than Mandla Mandela, grandson of Nelson Mandela. This isn't some diplomatic scuffle over a flag or a speech. This is Africa saying, release our people, or the sky is about to get very dark. Part 1. The flotilla that sparked a firestorm. It started as a peaceful mission. A group of African humanitarian workers, doctors, engineers, activists, sailed with the Global Sumud Aid Flotilla to deliver medicine and food to Gaza. Among them was Mandla Mandela, a sitting South African MP and outspoken advocate for Palestinian rights. But things took a sharp turn when Israeli forces intercepted the flotilla in international waters. According to multiple reports, the team was detained, interrogated, and then held in a secure facility inside Israel. Antes de rendirte y pensar que nunca volverás a ver claramente, necesitas conocer este invento que está devolviendo. And just like that, Africa's patience snapped. Part 2. Africa's outrage, from diplomacy to defiance. South Africa's government immediately demanded their release. The African Union called an emergency session. Protests erupted in Johannesburg, Nairobi, and Dakar. Even usually neutral countries like Botswana and Tanzania issued statements calling the detention a provocation. But according to insiders inside the AU's defense wing, something else was happening behind closed doors, something far more serious. A special joint task force codenamed Operation Sky Lion was activated. And that task force's first move? Prepping the stealth bombers 1980 for their first ever combat readiness mission. Part 3. Operation Sky Lion. The leaked plan. Leaked documents from the AU Joint Defense Command, obtained by SABN, show that the bombers have been stationed at undisclosed bases in Sudan, Eritrea, and Egypt, all within striking range of key Israeli military targets. The document, marked Top Secret, Continental Response Plan, outlines a chilling warning. Open quote, if African civilians are not released immediately, the AU reserves the right to respond with overwhelming force. Close quote. And that overwhelming force isn't just a phrase. It's stealth jets capable of flying undetected, equipped with long-range precision payloads, and designed to bypass Israeli radar systems. Part 4. The Bombers 1980, Africa's secret weapon. The Stealth Bomber 1980 isn't your average aircraft. Developed under the radar through joint African defense projects, it's the continent's first indigenous strategic bomber. With a range of over 4,000 kilometers, low radar cross-section, and advanced AI targeting systems, it's a technological leap that even shocked Western analysts. Chairman Shadow, one of SABN's top AU insiders, put it this way: Africa spent decades talking about sovereignty. Now we're building the tools to defend it. Part 5. Protocol Black's Ultimatum. According to documents intercepted by SAN, Protocol Black, one of the AU's top strategic coordinators, has sent a confidential message through diplomatic back channels. It warns Israel that Africa will not tolerate hostage-taking of its citizens under the guise of security operations. The ultimatum is clear: release the delegation immediately or face consequences. No timeline was publicly given, but insiders say the AU's deadline is measured in hours, not weeks. Part 6. Mandla Mandela, a symbol too big to detain. Mandla Mandela's detention is more than just a political scandal. It's a symbolic earthquake. As Nelson Mandela's grandson, he represents Africa's historic fight against apartheid and colonialism. His capture by Israeli forces has been seen across the continent as a direct insult to Africa's dignity. One South African MP said Africa is being tested. They arrested a Mandela to see if we still kneel. But this time, Africa is standing. Part 7. Israel's response. Deny, delay, distract. Israel, for its part, insists the flotilla violated maritime security laws and that the detainees are being processed. That explanation isn't landing well in Africa. Governments and activists across the continent accuse Israel of using security as an excuse for political retaliation. Meanwhile, Washington has urged restraint while also warning the AU against escalatory actions. Translation: please don't bomb our best friend. Part 8. Africa's sky power, a new era of deterrence. The deployment of the stealth bombers 1980 is about more than this one incident. It's Africa's way of showing the world that the era of passive diplomacy is over. For decades, foreign powers have detained African citizens, exploited resources, and disrespected sovereignty, often without consequence. Now, Africa is signaling that it has the capability and the courage to push back. As Chairman Shadow said in a closed-door meeting, this is not 1960. Africa is not begging for independence anymore. We are enforcing it. Part 9. AU intelligence on high alert. SABN sources inside the AU's intelligence apparatus say Shadow Unit Zulu is actively monitoring Israeli air defenses, troop movements, and communication signals. The unit has reportedly intercepted chatter, indicating that Israel is scrambling additional Iron Dome batteries and deploying naval assets in the Mediterranean. But insiders believe those defenses won't be enough if the bombers are unleashed. The 1980s were designed to exploit radar blind spots and fly low under detection thresholds, a move that could neutralize key infrastructure without warning. Part 10. Africa United, a rare moment of consensus. What makes this crisis even more remarkable is the level of unity within the AU. Countries that often clash on foreign policy, from Egypt to Nigeria, Algeria to South Africa, are reportedly backing the AU's hardline stance. For the first time in decades, Africa is speaking with one voice. Don't mess with our people. Even opposition leaders who usually criticize the AU have rallied around the cause, saying this isn't about politics, it's about respect. Part 11. The clock is ticking. As of this broadcast, diplomatic negotiations are ongoing behind closed doors, but the AU's patience is wearing thin. Insiders say the jets are on combat standby, pilots are on alert, and targeting coordinates are already uploaded. The world is watching, and so is Africa. And for once, Africa is not just watching, it's prepared to act. Part 12. Global shockwaves. What happens if Africa strikes? If the AU follows through, the consequences will be seismic. Israel would face its first ever confrontation with a unified African military force. The United States and NATO would be forced to respond, risking a global escalation. And Africa's geopolitical position, often dismissed in global power circles, would change overnight. Analysts say even the threat of a strike has already shifted diplomatic calculations. Israel, used to facing Western condemnations, now faces the prospect of stealth jets made in Africa flying over its skies. And that, my friends, is a new chapter in global politics. Part 13. Africa's message to the world. Supreme Family, let's be clear. This isn't just about Mandla Mandela or one flotilla. This is about centuries of disrespect finally meeting a continent that can defend itself. This is about Africa refusing to be a passive observer while its people are detained and humiliated abroad. As Protocol Black reportedly said in a closed meeting, the age of asking nicely is over. The age of consequences has begun. The coming days will decide whether diplomacy wins or history is written in fire. But one thing is certain, The next time anyone thinks of detaining African citizens, they'll remember the day 20 stealth bombers 1980 warmed up their engines and pointed their noses toward the Middle East. Tisu Vanhu Vacho, Supreme Family. If this story shook you, smash that like button, share this report far and wide, and subscribe to SABN. Because this is not just a news update. This is the dawn of a new Africa.
All right. Hold on. You heard him. So, let me come back here for a minute. The next one deals with white trash, which is a great book. Find that on Amazon. And white fragility. Hey, okay, wait a second. No calibre. Yeah, some friends are leaving. So, hold on, let me get the right title. MAGA's obsession with white victimhood, that's what it was, explained. So this guy, white guy, goes into explaining what is victimhood among white folks. They got all kinds of mental illness. But to be honest with you, I give no fuck. They've never been held accountable. White men are not men. They're boys. They whine, they moan, they bitch, they cry, they do everything a 5-year-old does, except to accepting their accountability, culpability. With that, I'll be right back.
I hear a lot and ask a lot is, why do white people need to be the victim? Look at something like Lincoln Riley. Okay? Over 40,000 people died from gun violence. Why her? Because it was a brown person. It allows them to tap into their white fragility. Did they have the same outrage about Ahmaud Arbery? No. Look at the racist podcaster who was the victim of a school shooting. Oh my gosh, put his name on a coffee cup and say his name, say his name. My church won't say it. He won't say his name of the racist podcaster. It was a podcaster. That's it. It allows them to be the white victim. Over 40,000 people die every year from gun violence. Over 500 mass shootings. Children are identified by dental records, but the white person needs to be the victim. Starbucks cups, right? How dare we say happy holidays? It's a war on Christianity, critical race theory. You're making the white kids feel bad. It's indoctrination, Confederate statues. You're taking away our history. Of what? Of racism and white supremacy? Police brutality. The cops are the real victims. Yeah, maybe you should go watch the video of George Floyd and how he just stood there, or Uvalde, where they sat on their fat ass for an hour and watched children get shot. Me too. Defending women. Oh, it's a witch hunt against men. Affirmative action. It's just discriminating against white kids. January 6th, they're political prisoners. And we can do this on and on and on and on. Drag shows. Oh my gosh, it's indoctrination. You literally teach your kids from a book where Noah has sex with his daughters in a cave where they crucify a man and stab him with a spear. But somehow, a drag show rating, because it's not about that. Why do they need to be the victim? Because that's the real question. When you're at the top, like the white man has been for so long, and you feel that your leverage, your power, your superiority is going away because of diversity, because you see women in places of leadership, because you might see a Hispanic flag or an Indian flag in this melting pot of a country, you think that your version of America is going away. So what you do is you act like a little toddler you see at Chili's, right? And they're screaming and yelling and tears and boogers are coming out of their nose. And why? Because they need to be the center of attention. That's what you saw on something like January 6th. They need to be the center of attention. And that's what this white supremacist Klan leader ran on. The brown people, your version of America. I just want them here legally. Oh, wait, so someone that's been here for 40 years, you want them here legally, then fix the system. But at the same time, You're fine voting for a white man who was born here, who's a felon, an adjudicated rapist, tax fraud, cheats on his wife, molests little girls on Epstein Island. Somehow that's okay if they're homegrown, because it was never about that. It's been about maintaining whiteness. And anything that even resembles their white privilege being taken away, they're going to lose their minds. And that's exactly what's happened with the racist podcaster. For once in their miserable lives, their white privilege got shit on. They felt like what it's like to be treated like the people that they treated poorly. And they went back to what they know, being the victim, right? Oh, we have to put him on an airplane. The vice president has to come, and we have to put him up over here, and we have to have a memorial for him. What about the 6-year-olds that were murdered at the Catholic Church? Why were their lives any less valuable? Why weren't they put on an airplane? Why wasn't Ahmaud Arbery have a bill passed? How about George Floyd police reform? You won't do that? Well, wrong demographic. Oh, I got it. Okay. You said they said he was a criminal? Fuck off. You voted for a rapist. Because it wasn't about that. You just want to demonize the black people, just like the white men viewed Ahmaud Arbery. He's a black person. He must be committing a crime if he's jogging. How dare he? If Ahmaud Arbery was a white man, do you think that those 3 hillbillies would have chased him down? Absolutely not. Because they saw the wrong demographic running down their neighborhood, so they assumed what a lot of white people do. And they took the law into their own hands because they thought that the white man would probably protect them and get them off. Just like the white people on January 6th. That's what being the white victim is. And that's what you see all across this country is a bunch of fake white Christians, Pharisees, who need to be the victim. And they justify everything that's immoral, right? Oh, it's abortion, it is gay people. That's their justification for voting for a rapist and a felon and the most morally bankrupt human being that's ever walked in this country. That's their justification, because they get to be the victim of whiteness. That's where we are. And once again, until we deal with white supremacy in this country, nothing's going to matter, because that's what this is. This white victimhood has to stop. The only demographic that hasn't been treated like shit in this country are 21-year-old land-owning white men, because that's how this country was designed.
Wow, really good, but it is not really stepping on anything. But let me add a little bit to that, because the guy is obviously a so-called white guy. These are just pale-skinned Negroes. White people or these pale-skinned come from Brazilian albinos out of India. They're albinoid, they're Caucasoid, they're Negroid. You see, being black in this world we live in come in all colors. From the whitest white albino to the blackest black. No shit. No bullshit. I'm not playing with you. And this is all of what I have written in my book. Everything in that book, my book, The White Man's Burden of Lies and Deceit, is 100% correct. Also, these people are not white, they're not Caucasian, they're not Aryan, they're Anglo-Saxon, they're not European. They just bleached out Negroes. The worst Negroes on the goddamn planet. They have yet to create, and will never create, any civilization. And all of the civilizations that we know about were created by black people. White people account for, I'm going to say, maybe 40% of the population, but commit 80% of the crime. 90% of the people who are killing cops are white. School shooters, you can go down the list. Black people ain't nowhere near that. 55%, 60% of the people on welfare are white. So that notion of civility and upwardness and farewell, I am educated and I know what I'm talking about. Oh, you nigga, you just wait, baby. We civilized you much, 3 times, and killed you to get you out. In Egypt, Greece, and Rome, and now. So 3 strikes, you're not getting it back. You're totally inept, stupid, unwise, and terrible people on the planet. Hell, I ain't even got to go way back. I can go back to 2020, since the vaccine started. You motherfuckers done killed 150 million people and counting. So don't start that shit. I'm praying. I wrote to this guy on X, and they're talking about, Charlie Cook and finding Jesus and all that. Man, look, I told him, have me on your show, Medina or something like that. I forget the first name. Have me on your show. And I sent him a copy of my book, or the front copy, of a woman with a long tail like a dog. So, hoping I can get on the show. Cause I told him, if you have me on your show, get ready. It's going to be fireworks. So if that happens, I'm going to be having you guys to check that out afterward or during the live. So here we are. So let me see what the next one is. Now, a lot of people talk about AI. A lot of people talking about this, that, and the other machine and invention and all of it. Did you know that it was a black guy that created AI? I'll be right back.
To Royal Black and Elite. I'm Lady Trinette Wilson, your lecturer and social historian. Today's lecture is going to be very interesting as we look at the emergence of AI coming into the forefront. When you think of technology, you think like Steve Jobs, who's the founder of Apple. Many people hold his inventions in our hands, or Microsoft founder Bill Gates. You often, however, do not hear about the black mathematicians and computer scientists who were behind the scene. Now, when you think of AI today in its full terms, they call this man right here, John McCarthy, the father of AI. But before AI was called AI, black mathematicians, engineers, and scientists were working on problems that would later become foundational to what we now call artificial intelligence. The computations, the algorithms, the pattern recognitions, and the signal processing. So these are smart men, and one such man is named Roy Clay. Now, Roy Clay is known as the father of Silicon Valley because he was at the base, at the foundation of when all of these computations and robots and all of that began to get built. So I wanted to introduce you to him. I say oftentimes, so many of our powerful, smart, innovative black people are hidden in history. And it's my honor to bring them out. So welcome, everybody. Don't forget to hit like, share, and subscribe. I really appreciate you, supporting the channel. And AI is really taking a toll on all of us. But I'm sure he didn't think that when he first started. It's so funny. Look at this man. He is sitting in here with something in his hand, smoking while in a meeting in an office. So things have really changed over the years. So Roy was born on August the 22nd, 1929 in Kinloch, Missouri. He was the oldest which was the oldest African American community incorporated in the state. It was a little small town right outside of St. Louis. Of course, he had limited opportunities, but his mother and father recognized how smart he was from just a small child. Now, his dad's name was Charles, and his mother's name was Emma Jean. Now, his father was a laborer, and his mother was a stay-at-home mom. Now, Roy discovered something very early in his life.
Did you know that the most dangerous prayer you can ever pray is only 3 words? If you skip this healing prayer, God will...
He absolutely loved math and solving problems. So even as a young boy, he dreamed big. He wanted to become a scientist, which in the 1920s and 30s was not as commonplace for black men. Now, after excelling in school, he won a scholarship. So that lets you know how really how smart he was, to St. Louis University, where he studied mathematics. He graduated in 1951, and he was actually one of the first African Americans to graduate from that university. Now, at the time, computers they were small. Do y'all remember these ancient computers? So it was an emerging field, and Clay's mathematical background positioned him perfectly to enter this brand new field. So if you can imagine, we can't imagine not having computers today, but this was in the early 1950s. Now, after college, Roy began working in programming, and he quickly gained a reputation for his skills. His big break came when he joined Control Data Corporation, where he helped design software for some of the earliest computers. Now, in the 1960s, I want to back up. In 1957, he married Virginia Connors, and they had 3 sons. So in the 1960s, he started working for Hewlett Packard. They hired him to develop software for their very early computers, and he was one of the company's first persons to work on these mini computers. Now, this machine became critical for scientific and industrial applications, marking a turning point in making computing accessible. So here he is, a black man, black family, so proud of him. And I'm just so glad that I'm able to bring this lesson to you. Had you heard of him there in San Francisco? Do y'all have anything that is erected in these schools to his name? I couldn't find any, so that's why I'm asking. I think it's very, very important and special to know that as we look at AI, that black men like this were at the foundation of building it. Now, he helped pioneer computer language development, making machines more user friendly. So that's why we can go on apps and use them today. He played a major role in establishing HP's computer division, not just a computer, but the whole entire division. And we know it's in history now. It is the foundation of HP's dominance in the tech industry. I'm a big HP lover. People have moved to different ones like the Mac computer, different things nowadays, but I still use this trusty HP. Okay, HP, I need to see some love. Now, he later founded Rod L Electronics. Now, this was a company that created electrical safety testing equipment used worldwide. So, if you see a UL safety mark on an appliance, Mr. Roy Clay is the one who invented it. Again, so many of the everyday things we use. And you all click down below because I have so many outstanding black inventors, again, who have been hidden in history, but who were major players in our the things that we use daily. And so I am just so proud to bring this message to you today, this lesson to you today. Now, and beyond the technology, Clay had a mission to bring other African Americans into the field of technology. So he even opened doors for others. And I see nowadays so many times we as African Americans, we don't open the doors as a lot of times like we should for others. Yet back in the day when opportunities were even limited for them, these, our forefathers opened doors for others. So I hope that you are a door opener for people who deserve the opportunity and chance. Because of him opening doors for other black people in the industry. There's a man named Clarence Skip Ellis. He was the first African American to earn a PhD in computer science in 1969. And so what he developed is the shared environment and remote collaborations that we see today. So Zoom. If you use Zoom, if you use Microsoft Teams, Clarence Skip Ellis is responsible for this. What about Gladys West, who was able to help create the technology that goes into the GPS system? So black mathematicians, smart, innovative, and accomplished black people were at the forefront and at the foundation of technology as we know it today. Now, you know what? I feel like Roy's story is really, a reminder to us about who we are, where we came from, and he left a definitive mark in Silicon Valley. Not only there, across the world, because we use these products right today, the technology today because of him. Now, in 2003, he was inducted into the Silicon Valley Engineer Council's Hall of Fame. So kudos to you all for doing that. Now, Roy Clay Sr. was more than just a programmer. He was a pioneer, an inventor, and a champion for other Black engineers. Now, he passed at 95 years old at this time last year on September the 22nd, 2024. Now, at the end of his life, he was a politician. He used his money. He founded a golf tournament. So he always gave back to his community as well. So kudos to you, Roy Clay. I definitely wanted to bring his life to our attention because too many times we do not know about these people. So I thank you all for joining me for another great episode of Royal Black and Elite. I found his information in the Good Men Project, and I also looked at Wikipedia as well as some other resources. So I kind of found him a little bit of everywhere. But I thank you all for joining me for another great episode of Royal Black and Elite. Don't forget you all like, share, and subscribe so we can push this video through the algorithm. And don't forget to go down below and continue to learn.
Now, before I go on to the pedophilia that is running rampant in the Congress in the United States, I just want to be able to really relate the importance of understanding and knowing your history. When you know the past, you can understand the present and predict the future. When you know the past, you can understand the present and predict the future. When we are connected back to our ancestors, of which we are standing on their shoulder, we have a duty to do the right thing. We have the duty to always push forward. We have the duty to pay it forward. There's no shying away from that. In order for us to receive the blessing of our ancestors, we must talk about them from morning to night and every day, and doing what they do best, putting and pushing and paying it forward. Now, I've said this, I don't know how many times. The white folks ain't shit. They're like fucking flies landing on a pile of shit. People are like bees. We work, we produce honey, we pollinate other plants and what have you in order to make a goal for them. And we defend our hive. You attack one, you attack all. And some of us have to die in order to maintain that freedom. Now, the difference between a fly and a bee is that a bee should not waste of her time trying to explain to a fly that honey tastes better than shit. You're wasting your time. And so with that, let's go on to the next video. And it's important that these people are flies. They're passing laws that benefit them and not benefiting the greater good of humanity and in particularly the population of the United States. I'll be right back.
At least why the White House and House Republicans are working to such great lengths to bury the Epstein files like a mile beneath the earth. I mean, it looks like they're being blackmailed, right? I mean, we're in a Epstein shutdown right now. I went to Washington earlier this week, and the doors to the Capitol were closed because they don't want to swear in a member of Congress who will be the 218th signature that would force a vote on the Epstein file. So they decided it's better to shut down the country, to not negotiate a way to open this up, than to have whatever the hell is in the Epstein files that's connected to Donald Trump.
Let's talk about that new member of Congress. This is what Adelita Grijalva said in a statement earlier this year. 2 Republicans in Florida were sworn in during pro forma sessions less than 24 hours after their elections. The fact that Southern Arizona is being treated differently raises serious questions about political motivations, especially since I have pledged to be the 218th signature on the discharge petition to force a vote on the Epstein files. Do you have a sense, Congressman, of legally how long they can wait before swearing Grijalva in?
I mean, they can wait the whole Congress, and it's really up to the Speaker of the House. It's unprecedented. And again, if they're going to keep the Congress shut down, they're keeping the country shut down. So I feel for our troops who are not going to be paid by the 15th of the month, the air traffic controllers who are supposed to make sure planes aren't crashing, FBI agents who are investigating terrorism cases who are also not going to be paid by the 15th of the month. And again, for what? Because you don't want to swear in somebody who's going to force a vote on the Epstein files, or the Epstein files and protecting Donald Trump that important that everyone else would have to suffer. I mean, it's really remarkable, and I hope that the country demands that their legislators get back to Washington and reopen Congress.
So, Congress, I just want to be clear there. I want to draw that out a little bit. So, this seat that has been won by a Democrat, the Congress is
it wasn't even close,
now.
Right?
It wasn't even close. So there is nothing that has harmed or impaired her coming to this seat legitimately. There's no question about that back in her state. So the Congress stays closed. That 218th vote is not cast, that she doesn't get seated. At some point, are you saying that they literally could just keep the Congress closed down, because they have to open it at some point, don't they? I mean, they cannot not seat her. They have to seat her at some point.
You would think, I was knocking on doors yesterday in my district to get Prop 50 passed, the redistricting measure, and everyone is watching the shutdown. And a senior citizen asked me when I was at our door, she said, is my Social Security check going to be delivered? People have questions and they expect us to be in Washington working. And look at the amount of time we've squandered on the clock to negotiate a way out of this shutdown over the last 8 weeks. They sent us home about 2 weeks early in August because they didn't want to have votes on Epstein. And now, they canceled the 2 votes that the 2 voting days we were supposed to have this week because of Epstein. And people are hurting and people are suffering. And it's really going to take pressure from the American people. And 48% of Americans are blaming Republicans for the shutdown, as opposed to 30% who are blaming Democrats. And those numbers have to move Donald Trump. He's a numbers guy. He wants to be liked. He wants to be popular. And I hope it forces him to the table to reopen government.
Well, speaking of the shutdown, also, Mr. Secretary Lutnick, if you are watching or you happen to see this clip, we don't know if you were being glib or trying to send us a message, but blink twice, honey, if you have something to say.
Files. And with the government shutdown, House Republicans are in no rush to vote on this.
Ever in the room with him, social, for business, or for even philanthropy. That guy was there. I wasn't going because he's close.
Joining me now to discuss all of this is Asha Rangatha, former FBI special agent and senior lecturer at Yale University, and Andrew Weissman is back with us. Asha, obviously, not everyone in the Trump administration is singing from the same hymnal. What's your reaction to Cabinet Secretary Lutnick contradicting the DOJ on Epstein?
Well, politically, he clearly stepped in it, right? This whole idea that Epstein was blackmailing people and that's how he made his money, which may or may not be true, is definitely a MAGA conspiracy talking point. But here's the thing, Melissa, is the only way to verify whether that's true is to understand what was actually recovered from the Epstein residence. The FBI files would have logs of whatever they recovered and what those videos contained, et cetera, et cetera. And I think it highlights the red herring of the release of the grand jury testimony and how that really has nothing to do with what may potentially be in the FBI's possession.
So, Andrew, among some of the things that may be in the Epstein files is this question that Lutnick has surfaced that there was perhaps a trade with the tapes being exchanged for this sweetheart deal in the Southern District of Florida. First, would that even be possible as part of a prosecution? Is that kind of deal, like tapes for freedom, possible?
Well, it's possible. If you're asking, is it proper? Obviously, it's not proper. It is worth noting that that part is sort of what I'll call, speculation or an educated guess on his part. I'm actually more interested in the, as you put it, Melissa, the first-hand account, where you have somebody who was no problem displaying the massage table and then sort of talking with a sort of wink, wink, nod, nod, openly, though, to Mr. Lutnick, because that belies, for instance, Ghislaine Maxwell saying, oh, I never saw or heard anything untoward going on. The people who knew him well, which includes our current president, saying, oh, I don't know anything, where you have this sort of firsthand account from somebody who has no reason to be lying about it. I'm sure behind the scenes, people are talking to him saying, what in God's green earth made you give that interview? And so he's just gotten someone who's quite open about the lifestyle and is, to use his phrase, the sort of the grossness of it. And so it really belies all the people saying, I didn't know anything.
Asha, Andrew makes a good point. A lot of this is Lutnick speculating, and these are wild claims about which he is speculating, and many of them would require evidence to corroborate. Does this put more pressure on Congress to vote to release the files? And if so, what do we make of Speaker Johnson's reluctance to bring this to a vote?
I think it will definitely increase the pressure to release this. Again, this is someone from inside the tribe who's basically validating for the base that, something that they have been suspecting for a long time. So I think that this is going to be complicated for them. I don't know what to make of the reluctance to release these, Melissa. I mean, this is something, the promise to release these files was literally part of this whole campaign promise for this administration. So this about face is very odd. And on the Acosta point, one thing that I will say is that, nobody talks about this, but there is a 348-page Office of Professional Responsibility investigation into the sweetheart deal that Acosta made. One of the details that's in there, by the way, is that there was, a potential indictment that was moving apace, within the office until Acosta went and met with Epstein's lawyers. And then all of a sudden, the investigation was stalled and put on hold. So I've just been surprised that that piece of it hasn't been pushed on more. And I don't know if that is considered part of the Epstein files, but I would imagine that that would be something that would reveal a lot of information.
So, that's fun.
Okay, so why is it so surprising that he would come out and talk about Jeffrey Epstein?
I guess, what's the reason for him to do it, other than maybe some form of virtue signaling that, unlike people who have shown up in the subsequent files that have come out, like a Peter Thiel or a Steve Bannon who are hanging out, or at least were scheduled to hang out with him later, he, was swearing off Epstein from the beginning. I really don't know. And this is a thing with Lutnick, is it's hard to get people in the administration to really talk too badly about him, but he's definitely gotten on some nerves, and he is not everyone's cup of tea.
So the Epstein stuff has been something that the White House and Republicans have tried to suppress, broadly speaking, Republicans, after, fomenting and riling up their fan base for so long about, we're going to release the Epstein files, we're going to show you everything that's there. This seems like it comes in and throws another very scintillating detail into the conversation, that Epstein has videos and that's how he made his money. So, where did that money go? Come from? Who was paying him? Where are those videos? Is this the sort of thing that's beginning to bubble up on social media now?
Yeah, and that's the thing, is we have known that Jeffrey Epstein obsessively filmed so many rooms of these properties since this scandal began to unfold. I don't know, back in, we're talking 2017, 2018 at that point, where this was already a point of fascination. And it's just a complete unforced error for Lutnick
to be bringing this up when there have been
Is
a couple
it an error, or is there something there that people are going to want to hear about? I mean, he says he thinks those videos were traded in for Epstein's sweetheart deal with prosecutors. So he thinks that the prosecutors know that there are videos of people, and that was part of the way that he got a lighter sentence. Have you seen this bubble up online? I mean, I know there are so many fervent people out there who are demanding more on the Epstein files. Is this putting some chum in the water for them?
I think it is putting some chum in the water. I have not seen any, major accounts that tend to drive the conversation about the civil rights seizing up on it.
That's surprising.
Well, I mean, I think you don't want to be hurting the home team now, Katie, do you? So that's one reason. But, the other is just that there have been some unifying moments that the Trump base has been able to kind of rally around. The shutdown is maybe a less, enthralling version of one, but you can still rally around the team there. I really think that if you look at the way the aftermath of the death of Charlie Kirk unfolded, that was a huge moment for everyone to kind of rally around a figure that they all like. Trump was able to hold effectively a rally for the first time in a while at that funeral. But yeah, Lutnick here is just opening another can of worms, and we keep seeing these self-owns until morale improves type moves. And I really don't know what to make of it this many months in.
Is this going to come
What
up again?
you just heard in that clip feels less like real politics and more like the trailer of a Netflix conspiracy drama, doesn't it? Congress literally shutting down, not because of budgets or policies, but because of files. Epstein files. Imagine pausing the entire government like you pause a YouTube video, just so one folder never gets open. That's not democracy, that's drama. And the crazy part? While the powerful play hide and seek with these documents, regular people are left hanging. Soldiers waiting for paychecks. Air traffic controllers trying to keep planes in the sky without knowing when their salaries will come. Senior citizens asking if their social security checks will even arrive. Real lives, real struggles, while politicians act like kids hiding homework from their parents. But here's where it hits even harder. The system is being held hostage. One seat in Congress, just one, could force a vote to open those files. Instead of swearing that person in, they'd rather lock the doors, keep Congress closed, and leave an entire country in limbo. That's not just suspicious, it's heartbreaking, because it tells us that protecting a few powerful names is being valued more than protecting millions of ordinary people. And honestly, the irony is almost funny if it wasn't so tragic. After years of promising transparency, we're watching leaders twist themselves into knots to avoid it. They said, we'll release everything. And now it's like watching someone say, of course I'll show you what's in the box, while duct taping the box shut and burying it in the backyard. At the end of the day, this isn't just about Epstein or Trump or any one name. It's about trust. If files can hold a government hostage, what does that say about the people running it?
What does that say about the people running it? Well, they're on that list, and they have been busted for child pedophilia and other things. This shit, man, look, this goes deep. The royal families of England and Europe. It is deep, it is wide, it is tall. These motherfuckers don't give a goddamn about themselves, let alone you and your family. They shut down because they don't want the Epstein list file to be looked at. If you're so virtuous, white boy, you should and be able to understand and to let the world see. But I can tell you right now that that is not going to happen. We're going to see in a minute, because I've done this on the last show, how the podcaster, like Benny, I forget his name, been on Grindr and looking dick. I forget the guy's first name. He Hawthorne, and he was came into Congress in a wheelchair. And somebody came up on him and talking about, you want to go to a party, a sex party? He was looking like, so these people are mentally ill. They do what they want to do when they want to do it, how they want to do it, where they want to do it. That's to them and their little pea brains. No one's going to find out. And this leads to the next story. And whether you want to know it or not, believe it or not, accept it or not, I believe it. Now, do I know? No, but where there is smoke, there is fire. I'll be right back.
I wasn't going to talk about this, but now it's just gotten too weird, too dark. I don't know. There's just something very off about Erica Kirk.
There is a lot of content to be had, and we have so many amazing things down the pipeline that we are working on currently that will
unveil in due time.
I'm so excited.
Yeah.
It's like, lady, didn't your husband just get his face blown off like 2 seconds ago? And not to be insensitive about it, but everyone's thinking it. No one wants to be the asshole. No one wants to say it. Everyone's thinking it.
Hey, he said it. I didn't. And just for the record, a lot of people have been talking about Erica Kirk for a few weeks now. I didn't really want to do it because I thought it was a little too soon, a little insensitive, but now I think I have to because the evidence regarding her past is, at this point, too overwhelming. So let's get into it. Starting at the very beginning, Erica was born Erica Lane Fronsby. Her yearbook quote reads, "Leaders are made, they are not born." Now keep that in mind as we dive deeper here. Her father, Kent Fronsby, as reported by Ron Unz, once chaired the Israel division of the arms corporation Raytheon, linking her family directly to Israel's military-industrial complex. Just a coincidence, I am sure. And then in an interview from a few years ago, Erica stated that the reason she moved to Arizona was because her mother was, quote, getting involved with the government.
Hey, let's review this best-selling natural remedies book together. Look at this blood sugar page. She was getting involved with the government, so Homeland Security and Department of Defense.
Mother in Homeland Security and Defense, father supplied weapons to Israel. Just another nice coincidence there. Those will keep piling up. As you can see here in 2012, she won a beauty pageant owned by Donald Trump and then became Miss Arizona. After that, she tried to get into entertainment. She appeared in some music videos, this one from a country music band. But then at age 23, she does something kind of interesting, which is to set up an evangelical Christian organization called Everyday Heroes Like You, which developed a program called Romanian Angels, which advocated for adoptions, family reunifications, and deinstitutionalization policies for orphan children. And it operated from about 2011 to 2015. Those dates are important, which I'll get back to in a second. But yeah, I don't know. This whole thing seems kind of like a weird thing to do, to go to Romania to start a charity. This next part is where it gets super dark. According to Unz, behind the slogan, helping God's forgotten children find wings, her organization was actually suspected of having been involved in child trafficking. Whoa, yeah, those are some heavy claims. So I looked into it deeply. Obviously, I started with the mainstream fact checkers who say that there is absolutely no evidence of this claim, of course, but I'm here to report that we actually do have some evidence. This is from a Romanian newspaper. This headline is translated, but it reads, "A former translator from the American base in the city of Romania," that I'm not going to pronounce, accuses, and she says that it's a real brothel operated here where minors were brought in. Quote, "Anna Maria Nasiu was until recent years a translator at the American base," once again, city, can't pronounce it, Romanian name. "Everything seemed to be normal until Anna Maria discovered that in this military unit belonging to NATO forces, there was a real brothel where underage girls came to satisfy the desires of some soldiers, especially the commander of the Black Sea Area Support Team base, Otto Buscher." Okay, Otto Buscher, remember that name. This next part is where the dots will connect. Okay, I'm going to show you this video right here that was posted by Erica Kirk, then Erica Fronsby, on Vimeo. Basically, it's a commercial for Romanian Angels, and it was posted in 2013.
I believe that we all have angels in our lives, and these are my little angels from Antonio Placement Center in Constanța, Romania.
The goal with the Romanian Angels Project was to show these children the true American heart during the holiday season.
Okay, anyways, it's basically a fluff video, but at the end, the person she thanks is none other than Colonel Otto Buscher. Yeah, here is a copy of the criminal complaint. It is in Romanian, but you can see the name Otto Buscher, and the years 2011 to 2013 is when these alleged crimes took place. So the person that Erica Kirk was working with in Romania to quote-unquote help orphan children was accused of, yeah, not good. And you might be like, why have I never heard of this? Well, there's something called the U.S.-Romania Defense Cooperation Agreement that was signed back in 2005, wherein crimes committed by U.S. military personnel on Romanian bases used by U.S. forces fall under U.S. jurisdiction, especially if they occur while on duty or within the installations. So essentially, everything was just swept under the rug. This guy, Otto Buscher, just retires, and according to my research, here's his LinkedIn, he's like having a nice, quiet retirement in New Hampshire. Erica Kirk's Romanian Angels mysteriously just shuts down shortly thereafter. She then keeps a pretty low profile until she is set up on a TPUSA interview with Charlie Kirk, and they fall in love, they get married, and you won't believe this, but their wedding was actually funded by TPUSA, so very interesting. And fast forward, as we all know now, Charlie Kirk dies a gruesome death, and she takes over as CEO of Turning Point with the new organization now much more powerful than it ever was. So it's almost like Charlie is more valuable to them dead than alive. Not going to say this is a honeypot, I've gotten in trouble for that before, but something doesn't seem right here. Especially because if you just look at Turning Point right now, they're not asking any more questions. They're ready to move on. They're ready to fundraise. Erica looks happy as a clam, and Charlie is basically in the rearview mirror at this point, even before we really have all the facts. Something just feels wrong here to me. And so unless you have something to gain from Charlie being dead, we should all still be asking the questions and demanding all the answers. My name is James Lee. This is the 5149 show. Sound off in the comment section below. What do you think of all this? What do you think of the evidence that you've seen today? What do you think is going on? Do you think there's a cover-up happening, both in terms of the Romanian Angel situation and with Charlie Kirk's assassination? If you want to support my journalism, please take a second to like this video, share it with as many friends and family as possible. Subscribe, hit that notification bell. It would help me out a lot. I appreciate your time. See you in the next one.
Say 2012, Erica Fonte. Congratulations, Erica Fonte.
Now, people who know me, and I do this show, I take it very seriously because my name is involved. And that I want to make sure that I'm doing it correctly, that I am thorough, that the information can be checked. And with that being said, you better very well believe me that if I say something, I have the fucking receipt to go along with it. So, the next video says bomb. AU and Britain building world digital government. One app to replace all passports and ID. Doesn't that sound familiar? Like what's the guy's name? The New World Order? The white version, now we're getting into the black version? I think so. But we're going to take a look at the evidence in this video and other ones that will be coming up. Not today, but in the future. That's one of the things that I'm focusing in on. That is very important to understand what the hell is going on. That right now the AU, the African Union, is looking towards having BRICS to be a part of Africa, or the African Union, better known as the Global South. You got the Global North, which is white folks, NATO, and the United States and Europe, going against the Global South. Excuse me. So, with that being said, there are a lot of countries, especially through the Caribbean, because it's been offered already, that black people in America, North America, South America, Canada, Caribbean, you name it, have a right to a passport to Africa and be able to travel here, there, and everywhere. And the Afro Gold and getting money. That from the last video I showed, or I did, Africa is putting up $100 billion for all of the people who are coming into Africa. And so with that being said, let's go. Be right back.
AU and BRICS building world digital government, one app to replace all passports and IDs. By Takunda Mabika, Supreme Africa Breaking News End. Tisu Vanhu Vacho, Supreme Family, gather around, breathe in deep, and tighten your seatbelt. Because what you're about to hear is not a theory, not a rumor, and definitely not a sci-fi plotline. According to leaked documents obtained by our insider Chairman Shadow, a man whose office sits just one hallway away from AU chairperson João Lourenço, Africa and its BRICS partners are deep in secret talks to build the world's first global digital governance platform, a single app designed to eventually replace passports, ID cards, driver's licenses, visas, and even voting systems. They're calling it, at least in draft memos, Project One Human. And insiders say if successful, it could reshape how people move, trade, vote, and prove their identity on this planet. Yes, you heard me. One app, one ID, one system. And the era of plastic cards and passport queues could soon become ancient history. Part 1. The leak that started the storm. According to the documents Chairman Shadow slipped to Sabin, the project's origins trace back to a classified AU BRICS summit in Johannesburg held 6 months ago. The meeting, marked as closed strategic dialogue, brought together senior officials from the AU's Digital Transformation Commission, China's Ministry of State Security, Russia's Technology Directorate, India's Ministry of Electronics, and Brazil's Federal Data Secretariat. The leaked agenda's top line read simply, Integration Proposal, Unified Digital Citizen Infrastructure. Translation, a system that would allow any human being, starting with citizens of Africa and BRICS nations, to register a verified digital identity once, and then use it for everything from border entry to business transactions. One African diplomat who spoke to SABN under condition of anonymity put it this way, we're talking about a new kind of passport, not a booklet you stamp, but a living digital key. Part 2, why Africa is driving this revolution. The memo reveals why Africa, not Silicon Valley, is leading the push. As one AU commissioner bluntly noted in the leaked minutes, we have 1.4 billion people, but most of them cannot prove who they are outside their village. That is not power. That is vulnerability. Here's the reality. Over 500 million Africans have no formal ID at all. Cross-border trade often collapses under paperwork and visa red tape. Millions of Africans abroad face citizenship confusion, unable to vote, own property, or register businesses. Project One Human aims to solve all that in one strike. The AU sees identity as the foundation of sovereignty and believes Africa must define the next generation of identity systems before Western tech giants and governments do it for them. And here's where BRICS enters the picture. China has already piloted digital ID systems integrated with facial recognition for over 1 billion citizens. India's Aadhaar project links over 1.3 billion people to a single biometric database. Russia, Brazil, and South Africa have similar systems. Combine all that experience, and you get the digital infrastructure for a global citizen framework. Part 3, the blueprint, how one app could run your life. The leaked 48-page draft plan reads like something from a cyberpunk novel, except it's stamped with AU and BRICS seals. Here's how insiders describe the system. Digital Core ID, a unique cryptographic identity linked to biometric data. Fingerprints, iris scan, and facial map stored in a secure distributed ledger hosted in Africa, Russia, and China. Global Mobility Module replaces passports and visas. Once verified, travelers pass through airports and borders by scanning their face or phone. Civic Gateway, voting, taxes, healthcare registration, property ownership, all connected to the same identity.
How to chat with senior women online. Join this platform with 40 plus users online. Discover a
Trade and finance integration, built-in payment verification for AfroGold transactions, and BRICS digital currencies. Diaspora Link. African descendants abroad could register under their ancestral lineage and gain access to AU services. In other words, the app wouldn't just identify you, it would govern your interaction with the system itself. From voting in African elections to buying land in Angola, from booking flights to signing contracts in Kenya, your one human ID would be your key. Part 4, behind closed doors, the power struggle. But Supreme Family, nothing this ambitious happens without friction. Chairman Shadow says that inside the negotiations, there's a silent tug of war raging between three camps. One, the sovereigntists, led by AU legal scholars and Ethiopian diplomats. This group insists that Africa must host the primary servers and control the algorithmic keys. Two, the technocrats, mostly Chinese and Indian engineers. They argue that for scalability and security, BRICS data infrastructure should lead. Three, the globalists, Russian and Brazilian negotiators, backed quietly by some African finance ministers, want the system open to non-BRICS countries from day one to maximize influence. This internal battle is why the project is still in draft architecture stage. But all three camps agree on one principle. Whoever builds the infrastructure will shape global governance for the 21st century. Part 5. The West is already panicking. Word of the leak has already reached Washington, London, and Brussels, and let's just say they're not laughing. According to Shadow Unit Zulu, intercepted cables from European foreign ministries describe Project One Human as a strategic sovereignty threat. Why? Because the system undermines one of the West's greatest tools of control, the passport regime. Right now, the ability to deny visas, restrict movement, and blacklist individuals is a major lever of geopolitical power. A unified Africa-led digital ID system threatens to bypass that entirely. One U.S. analyst quoted in a leaked NATO briefing warned, if Africa and BRICS succeed, they will not just control movement, they will write the new rules of legitimacy. And that's exactly the point. Hantash Part 6, Diaspora Dreams and Nightmares. In the African diaspora, the leak has sparked mixed reactions. Many Black Americans, Afro-Caribbeans, and Afro-Latinos see Project One Human as a dream, a digital bridge reconnecting them with ancestral homelands. Advocacy groups in New York and London are already lobbying for diaspora inclusion in the first rollout phase. But others are wary. Privacy advocates warn that biometric surveillance could become a tool of control. Some legal scholars argue that linking financial services, movement, and voting to one identity risks creating a digital cage if abused. Still, the majority sentiment is excitement. As one Pan-African think tank in Toronto wrote in a leaked letter to the AU, we were once counted as property, now we may be counted as citizens. Part 7, the geopolitical ripple. One app versus one order. Make no mistake, this isn't just about convenience, it's about power. If One Human succeeds, it will mark the first time in history that a non-Western alliance sets the global standard for identity, and with it, the rules of travel, trade, and citizenship. Western governments are already pushing back. The EU is fast-tracking its own digital ID project. The US is lobbying allies to block adoption. G7 leaders reportedly discussed counter-identity strategies at their last summit. But insiders say the AU-BRICS coalition has a trump card: scale. Together, they represent over 5 billion people, nearly 2/3 of humanity. If even half adopt the system, it will become de facto global law. Part 8, Africa's motivation. Never again. Chairman Shadow says the most powerful argument inside AU meetings isn't about tech, it's about history. For centuries, African people have been told who they are by foreign governments, categorized, numbered, colonized, deported. Borders were drawn without their consent. Passports were invented to control them, not empower them. One elder statesman in the AU Council reportedly told negotiators, "For once, we will not be asking permission to move. We will decide who we are, and the world will adapt." That sentiment has become the soul of Project One Human, a weapon against the colonial architecture of identity itself. Part 9, Comedy Break, African Twitter Reacts. Of course you know us. Even in the middle of a global governance revolution, we're still going to laugh. African Twitter didn't disappoint. One viral meme shows a frustrated border agent at Heathrow saying, "Passport?" and a Nigerian grandma replying, "Check the app, my son." Another TikTok trend imagines people deleting 17 different IDs from their wallets and replacing them with one glowing golden icon. Humor aside, the jokes hint at something deeper, the pride of an Africa that's no longer waiting to be invited into the room.
Millions of Americans have been destroying their bank cards after they found out this dirty little secret. If you own a credit card,
It's building the room. Part 10. What happens next? The leaked timeline is cautious but clear. 2025. Final framework drafted and presented to AU and BRICS leadership summits. 2026. Pilot program launched in 5 African and 3 BRICS nations, focused on cross-border trade and diaspora registration. 2027 to 2028. Expansion to travel, digital finance, and voting modules. 2030. Potential full rollout to all AU and BRICS member states, with invitations to Global South partners. Chairman Shadow warns that Western governments will likely try to sabotage or infiltrate the project before it matures through cyber attacks, disinformation, or diplomatic pressure. But momentum is building, and insiders say the political will is stronger than ever. Part 11. Why this matters for you. Supreme Family, this is bigger than technology. This is about sovereignty. It's about reclaiming the tools that define who we are, and making sure no foreign government can ever again dictate our identity, our movement, or our citizenship. If Project One Human succeeds, a child born in Lagos, a doctor in Sao Paulo, a coder in Johannesburg, and a poet in Kingston could all be linked by one digital key, part of a global alliance writing its own future. And for the first time in modern history, Africa wouldn't be a passenger in that story. It would be the driver. Part 12. Final thoughts. The world will never be the same. Supreme Family, make no mistake, this is not just a technological story, it's a civilizational one. Borders, passports, embassies, all of them are colonial inventions. And now the descendants of the colonized are building something bigger, bolder, and freer. The question isn't whether the world will resist. Of course, it will. The question is whether Africa and BRICS have the courage to finish what they started. And if they do, then by 2030, you might board a plane, start a business, vote in an election, and cross a border, all with one tap on an app built not in Washington, not in Brussels, but in Addis Ababa, Moscow, and Beijing. Tisu Vanhu Vacho. Supreme Family, if you believe in this future, like this video, share it with everyone you know, and join our channel members who make this work possible. Because this isn't just a story we're reporting, it's a destiny we're building. And trust me, the next chapter is going to blow your mind.
All right, hold on, let me get back. I was doing a little bit of eating right there. But this is it, guys. I can't tell you enough how it is, why it is, and where it is, and when it is that Africa will stand up. Mama Africa is woke. Been sleeping. The bones in the valley are coming together. That the power and might of the black man and woman is being felt as we speak. That there will be weapons coming out of Africa that is beyond the pale. So let's get to it.
Breaking. African Union unveils new super missiles B-60, capable of hitting anywhere in the world. by Takunda Mabika, Supreme Africa Breaking News. Tisu Vanhu Bacho. Supreme Family. Today's story is one for the history books. For the first time ever, Africa has officially entered the elite club of nations with global range strategic weapons. According to highly classified defense documents leaked to SABN by insiders within the One Africa Defense Directorate, the African Union has not only developed, but also deployed a new class of intercontinental ballistic missiles, the B-60 series, capable of reaching targets anywhere on Earth. Yes, you heard that right. From Washington to London, from Tokyo to Canberra, the world is now within range of African firepower, and the geopolitical map will never look the same again. Part 1. The day Africa became a superpower. Let's be clear, this moment did not happen overnight. The road to the B-60 began over a decade ago, when African defense scientists, frustrated by dependence on imported weapons, launched a secret research initiative known internally as Project Baobab. The mission was simple, but bold. Develop a fully indigenous strategic missile system that would allow Africa to defend its sovereignty without relying on any foreign power. For years, the project remained under the radar. Most analysts dismissed Africa as a minor player in global missile development. But according to leaked documents, research accelerated rapidly after 2022, when the African Union signed a defense cooperation pact with BRICS allies, giving African scientists access to advanced propulsion, guidance, and satellite technologies. By 2025, the first prototype, codenamed B-52A, completed suborbital testing. By early 2027, a second prototype successfully demonstrated Mach 12 re-entry capabilities. And now, in 2025, insiders confirm the final version, the B-60 Strategic Deterrent Missile System, is fully operational and deployed across 5 launch platforms on the continent.
No compres otro par de gafas hasta que veas lo que puede hacer este nuevo invento. Estas gafas autoajustan.
Part 2. A missile that changes everything. So what exactly is the B-60, and why is the world terrified? According to classified specs leaked from the One Africa Aerospace Command, OAAC, the B-60 is an AI-guided multi-stage intercontinental ballistic missile, ICBM, with a maximum range of 12,800 kilometers, enough to strike any point on Earth from African soil. It is equipped with dual-mode propulsion, solid fuel first stage, liquid fuel second stage for extended range, AI-driven guidance, adaptive mid-course corrections based on real-time satellite data, AfriSky navigation integration, coordinated with the AU's Beidou linked satellite constellation, multi-payload capability, conventional, satellite disabling, or high-energy electromagnetic payloads, decoy swarm technology designed to evade advanced missile defense systems. In short, the B-60 is not a toy. It's not a bluff. It's a sophisticated strategic deterrent designed to ensure that no power on Earth can threaten Africa without facing consequences.
Did you hear all of what it can do when it launches? That nobody can detect it? I'm going to play that part again. Pay attention. This is the reason why on the previous shows that I was saying that Africa and the genius behind it are flooding back into Mama Africa, the continent, to help her grow, to help her rise. It was the black man, and I got it on X. I still got it. I'm not going to waste my time. It's not a waste of time, but since I don't have it right in front of me, I don't want to, kind of like waste time in trying to find it. But this black guy is the very foundation of drone technology in America. It blew my mind. This guy, it blew my mind. This guy has 4 PhDs and 4 masters. The CIA has been caught by Shadow Unit Zulu, my people. The Mossad has been caught. They caught look, I'm telling you, this is no joke. Shadow Unit Zulu and things they gotta go through to make it into the top echelon of the elite of the elite of the elite warriors and fighters. The Navy SEALs have nothing on them. Mm-mm. They took that shit and have added Mama Africa to it, if you know what I mean, the spirituality aspect of it. Can't touch it, baby. Can't touch it. Let's go.
3. The Afro-Shield Doctrine. Defense, not aggression. Now, before anyone imagines African leaders are plotting world domination, let's set the record straight. The AU has been very clear, at least in private, about the purpose of the B-60. According to a leaked defense briefing labeled Afro-Shield Doctrine, Level Omega, the missile is not meant for preemptive strikes. It is a deterrence weapon, a guarantee that Africa's sovereignty, resources, and infrastructure can never again be held hostage by foreign powers. The doctrine specifically cites 3 strategic priorities. 1. Afro-Gold security, protecting Africa's new commodity-backed monetary system from external sabotage. 2. Afronet infrastructure defense, shielding Africa's digital networks and satellite grids from foreign military action. 3. Territorial integrity, preventing unauthorized foreign military interventions on African soil or in African waters. In other words, the B-60 is Africa's answer to NATO aircraft carriers, Western no-fly zones, and foreign-backed coups. It's a geopolitical insurance policy, and it has already changed how the world deals with Africa. Part 4. Deployment confirmed. 5 strategic launch zones. SABN's investigation has confirmed that the AU has quietly deployed 5 B-60 launch complexes across the continent, each with different mission profiles. Launch Complex Nile-1, Egypt. Northern Range covers Europe, Russia, and the Middle East. Launch Complex Sahara-2, Algeria. Western Range covers North America and Atlantic targets.
Hold on.
Launch Complex Rhino-3, South Africa. Southern Range covers Indian Ocean and Antarctic trajectories. Launch Complex Equator-4, Kenya. Central Range, optimized for geosynchronous satellite launches. Launch Complex Atlantic-5, Angola. Redundant multi-range site with mobile launch platforms. Each site is supported by Mobile Transporter Erector Launcher vehicles, allowing the AU to reposition missiles quickly and complicate any potential preemptive strike. According to insiders, at least 48 B-60 missiles are now operational, with plans to increase that number to 120 by 2030. Part 5. The global reaction. Shock, panic, and respect. The revelation of the B-60's deployment has triggered an international firestorm. Within hours of the leak, NATO called an emergency security summit in Brussels. U.S. intelligence agencies issued a joint assessment warning that Africa now possesses a credible global strike capability. The Pentagon reportedly placed several missile defense assets on heightened alert. But beyond panic, there's also a growing sense of respect, and even fear. For decades, Africa was treated as a non-strategic region militarily, a place where superpowers fought proxy wars but never feared retaliation. The B-60 changes that dynamic forever. Now, Western military planners must calculate Africa's potential response in every scenario. Any attempt to seize control of Afro-Gold reserves, sabotage Afronet satellites, or impose military blockades could trigger a retaliatory capability they cannot ignore. Part 6. Strategic Partnerships. The BRICS Connection. One of the most intriguing elements of the B-60 story is the web of partnerships behind it. While Africa led the design and development, insiders say the project was heavily supported by technology transfers and joint research from Russia, China, and India. Russian scientists provided re-entry vehicle expertise and decoy countermeasure technology. China assisted with satellite navigation systems and AI guidance algorithms. India contributed solid fuel propulsion advances from its Agni missile program. In return, Africa granted these partners preferential access to strategic resources, joint aerospace projects, and future satellite launch agreements. This collaboration not only accelerated Africa's military rise, but also forged a powerful new bloc capable of rivaling NATO in strategic reach. Part 7. The Hidden Layer. B-60's cyber and space warfare capabilities. Here's where things get even more interesting. According to a highly classified document leaked by Commander Umoja from the AU Cyber Defense Division, the B-60 is not just a missile, it's a multi-domain weapon system. The missile's Umbra payload configuration can carry non-kinetic warfare modules, specifically satellite-disrupting electromagnetic pulse devices and cyber injection payloads designed to cripple communications infrastructure. In a simulated exercise conducted earlier this year, a B-60 launch from Kenya reportedly disabled a mock satellite constellation in low Earth orbit without creating debris, a breakthrough that shocked even Allied defense observers. This means the B-60 isn't just about striking cities. It's about neutralizing surveillance, blinding missile defense radars, and seizing control of the digital battlefield before a shot is even fired. Part 8, Western Panic. Leaked NATO assessment. SABN obtained a leaked NATO intelligence report titled African Strategic Capability Review, B-60 Era. The document paints a grim picture of the new global balance of power. The B-60 system eliminates the traditional strategic depth advantage enjoyed by NATO nations. Their capitals are now within range of retaliatory strikes launched from African soil. The AU's integrated defense network complicates early warning systems, making a successful first strike scenario highly unlikely. Africa's space warfare capabilities pose a critical threat to Western satellite infrastructure, undermining communications, navigation, and missile defense systems. One section even admits that military options to neutralize the B-60 system are limited and carry unacceptable escalation risks. In other words, the West has no easy answer. Part 9. Diplomacy in Chaos. World powers scramble for answers. The moment the B-60 deployment was confirmed, the world's diplomatic channels lit up like a Christmas tree on fire. Emergency summits were called in Washington, Brussels, and Tokyo. The G7 issued an urgent communiqué calling for restraint and transparency. The United Nations Security Council convened behind closed doors with Western diplomats demanding immediate clarification from the AU. But Africa didn't blink. According to insiders, the AU's official response to all inquiries has been a single line: Africa will defend itself with all tools necessary. That's it. No apologies, no explanations, no compromises. Meanwhile, African leaders have launched a coordinated diplomatic campaign to reframe the conversation. Speaking at a closed AU-ASEAN security dialogue, one official reportedly said, "For decades, nuclear weapons ensured Western security. Today, African weapons will ensure African security." It's a message that's resonating with the global South. Nations long frustrated by Western military dominance are now rallying behind Africa's right to defend itself. And some are even seeking access to AU missile technology. Ten, new alliances form. The rise of the global defense South. The B-60 deployment has triggered more than fear. It's triggering realignment. According to documents leaked to SABN from the AU Defense Council, several new strategic pacts are already being drafted under the umbrella of Global Defense South, a security alliance designed to coordinate defense technologies and intelligence sharing between Africa, Asia, and Latin America. Early members include China, offering early warning radar systems and satellite integration; India, proposing joint command exercises and naval coordination; Brazil, planning aerospace technology exchanges with AU missile engineers; Iran, seeking joint research on hypersonic glide vehicle propulsion. This alliance, if formalized, could become the largest non-Western defense bloc in history, a direct counterweight to NATO. And at its heart is Africa, not as a junior partner, but as a central power. Part 11, Western counter-strategies, none without risk. Of course, the old powers are not sitting idle. A classified NATO report obtained by SABN outlines 4 possible strategies Western governments are considering in response to the B-60 deployment. 1. Diplomatic pressure, push for a new global treaty restricting missile range and deployment. Problem: Africa won't sign it. 2. Economic sanctions, target AU defense industries and related suppliers. Problem: BRICS and Global South trade routes can bypass them. 3. Cyber sabotage, attempt to infiltrate B-60 command and control systems. Problem: AU cyber defenses have been hardened under Project Umbra. 4. Military containment, expand missile defense networks around Africa. Problem: costs are astronomical and success is uncertain. As one European defense analyst put it, every option we have either fails outright or risks escalating into a confrontation no one wants. The West is used to dictating terms. The B-60 has flipped the script. Now they're the ones with limited choices. Part 12. The New Balance of Fear. What makes the B-60 so revolutionary isn't just its range, it's what it represents. For the first time in modern history, deterrence flows both ways. The same fear that African capitals have lived under for decades, the fear of airstrikes, regime change operations, or punitive bombings, is now a reality in Western capitals too. A strategic policy memo leaked from the Pentagon admits as much. Any conventional military intervention in Africa now carries unacceptable escalation risks. That means no more unilateral drone strikes without consequences, no more threats of military action to protect corporate interests, no more bullying smaller states into compliance. Africa's deterrent changes how diplomacy, trade, and even sanctions are negotiated, because behind every negotiation now stands a silent global range missile. Part 13. The Economics of Deterrence. Afrogold's Shield. The B-60 isn't just a military tool, it's an economic weapon. Insiders say one of the AU's main motivations for deploying a global deterrent was to protect Afrogold, the commodity-backed monetary system that's threatening the dominance of the US dollar. Western intelligence agencies are reportedly concerned that attempts to sabotage Afrogold through cyber attacks, coups, or economic pressure are now too risky. The AU has effectively turned its currency into a strategic asset, shielded by the threat of force. It's the same logic the US uses to protect the dollar, or that NATO uses to secure oil shipping routes. But this time, Africa is the one wielding the leverage. And that leverage is backed by Mach 14 missiles with 12,800 kilometers range. Part 14. The space race heats up. The B-60 has also catapulted Africa into the heart of the new space race. Because the same propulsion technology that powers intercontinental missiles can also launch satellites, insiders say the AU is now planning a rapid expansion of its AfriSky satellite network, with B-60-based launch vehicles delivering payloads into orbit from launch complexes in Kenya and Algeria. This means Africa will soon have independent capabilities in satellite surveillance and reconnaissance, global communications infrastructure, commercial satellite launch services, space-based missile defense systems. It's a move that will reshape Africa's role in global space commerce and further weaken the dominance of Western aerospace giants. Part 15. Fear turns to negotiation and respect. In the days since the B-60 story broke, the tone of global diplomacy has noticeably changed. Western governments that once spoke to Africa are now speaking with Africa. Trade negotiators who once threatened tariffs are now offering partnerships. Military analysts who once dismissed African power are now including AU missile capabilities in their strategic calculations. At the World Economic Forum, one European diplomat was overheard saying, "You can't sanction someone who can reach you in 30 minutes." This newfound respect isn't just about missiles. It's about what they symbolize. Africa is no longer the passive subject of global security policy. It's an active architect of it. Part 16. The critics. Africa shouldn't have missiles. Of course, not everyone is celebrating. Western pundits, think tanks, and media outlets are flooding the airwaves with warnings. They argue that the B-60 could trigger a new arms race, destabilize global security, or embolden rogue states. But African leaders are hitting back hard. In a fiery speech leaked from an AU security meeting, one official said, "When they build missiles, it's for peace. When we build them, it's a threat. That era is over." The hypocrisy is obvious. The US, Russia, China, France, and the UK have all maintained global strike capabilities for decades. But the moment Africa achieves the same, it's suddenly a destabilizing threat. The double standards are crumbling, and the world is being forced to accept Africa as an equal.
How to chat with senior women online. Join this platform with 40+ users online. Discover a...
Part 17. The Next Frontier. B-60 Successors. According to insiders in the AU Defense Directorate, the B-60 is just the beginning. Plans are already underway for B-70, a next-generation hypersonic missile expected to achieve Mach 18 speeds and carry advanced electronic warfare payloads. A parallel project, B-72 ORB, will focus on suborbital glide vehicles capable of evading all known missile defense systems. Even more ambitious is Project Elephant, a classified initiative to develop a space-based deterrent system that would give Africa 24/7 global strike readiness. If successful, Africa would join the US, China, and Russia as the only powers with space launch-enabled weapon platforms. Part 18. Final thoughts. Africa's seat at the global table. Supreme Family, let's pause and take in the magnitude of this moment. For centuries, Africa was treated as a battlefield, a marketplace, a colony, but never as a strategic equal. We were the ground others fought over, the resources others exploited, the people others controlled. But with the deployment of the B-60, that story ends. Africa now has the means to protect its sovereignty, to secure its future, and to demand respect on the global stage. We're not spectators anymore. Yeah, we're players, and we're not begging for a seat at the table. We are the table. The B-60 is more than metal and fire. It's a message written across the skies. Africa will never again be invaded, exploited, or dictated to without consequences. It's a shield over Afrogold, a guardian of Afrinet, and a declaration that this continent's destiny will be decided in Addis Ababa, not in Washington or Brussels. So to every superpower watching nervously, to every analyst writing new war game simulations, and to every leader recalculating their foreign policy, understand this: Africa is no longer a region. Africa is a superpower. Tisu Vanhu Bacho. Supreme Family, if you believe this is Africa's moment, smash that like button, share this story across the world, and subscribe for more explosive insider leaks. Because the future isn't waiting. The future is already airborne, and its name is B-60.
Now, all of what has been going on, excuse me for not being on here, I'm eating something. But for all of what is going on, you got to realize and come to the notion that all of the dirty tricks, if I can call them dirty tricks, it's the game of life, baby. All of the dirty tricks that the United States and Europe has used, Africa, we're paying attention. Not like we didn't know, because you know the military of the United States get their military prowess from us. Hannibal of Carthage. Excuse me. And they have taken that, and like the fox story and the turtle. No, I'm sorry, the rabbit and the turtle story. And white folks are the rabbit, and the turtle or tortoise is Africa. Africa has reached the finish line. We're there already. We've been there waiting for the hare to catch up. They fell asleep, thinking that they can do what they want to do when they want to do, how they want to do it. That shit is over and dead. Justice is here, finally. And we're going to set the world apart and set the world back straight and put it back into balance in my eyes. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. Mama Africa is woke, and we're not fucking playing. The black man is back on top with it, and our hand around the motherfucking neck. It's just getting stronger and stronger every day. And so, this takes us up to money. Like I said, the central bank, number one central bank in the world now is in Africa. I'll be right back.
Breaking. One Africa Central Bank funds Cape to Cairo Railway. Africa now connected. By Takunda Mabika. Supreme Africa Breaking News. Tisu Vanhu Bacho. Supreme Family. Today's story is not just about steel and tracks. It's about destiny. The dream that colonial powers once drew on a dusty map to connect Africa from the southern tip of Cape Town to the ancient capital of Cairo has returned. But this time, it's not a British Empire fantasy. It's an African reality. And it's not funded by foreign loans or Chinese debt traps. It's being powered by something the West hoped would never exist, the One Africa Central Bank. According to confidential documents leaked to SABN by insiders within the AU's Infrastructure Council, the newly formed One Africa Central Bank has quietly approved over $82 billion in funding for the Cape to Cairo Continental Rail Corridor, a mega project that will connect 15 African countries across 11,200 kilometers of track. Some segments are already operational, others are under rapid construction. And by 2030, the entire line will be moving goods, people, and Afrogold across the continent like never before.
Hold on.
أنا نسمع الناس من معسكر جباليا.
Part 1, a century-old dream reborn. But this time, it's ours. To understand why this project is shaking boardrooms in London, Paris, and Washington, you need to go back more than 100 years. The idea of a Cape to Cairo railway was first proposed in the late 1800s by British imperialist Cecil Rhodes. His goal wasn't unity, it was domination. He envisioned a single line that would move British troops, minerals, and colonial influence from the Cape Colony straight into the heart of Egypt. But that dream never fully materialized. Colonial rivalries, wars, and independence movements stopped the project. For decades, Africa's railways remained fragmented, built by colonial powers for extraction, not connection. Each network ended abruptly at borders, designed to serve European ports rather than African trade. Fast forward to today, and the story is being rewritten. Now Africa is building the Cape to Cairo line again, but with a very different mission, to connect Africans to each other, not to Europe. Part 2, the central bank's first big move. The One Africa Central Bank, which began operations quietly in early 2025 as part of the Afrogold economic framework, was created to do exactly this: fund strategic continental projects that individual nations could never afford alone. Its primary mission: turn the dream of continental integration into bricks, rails, and fiber. And insiders say this railway is its flagship project. According to a leaked financial memorandum labeled Confidential Strategic Infrastructure Phase 1, the central bank approved an initial $82 billion investment package broken down as follows: 40%, $32.8 billion. Afrogold-backed sovereign reserves, 35%, $28.7 billion. Continental infrastructure bonds issued to African pension funds and state banks, 25%, $20.5 billion. Public-private partnerships with African logistics, mining, and construction firms. This model means the railway is being built with African capital, African labor, and African technology. Not a single IMF loan, not a single World Bank condition, and not a cent of colonial debt. Part 3, a continent-stretching economic artery. When complete, the Cape to Cairo Railway will span over 11,200 kilometers, connecting 15 countries: South Africa, Botswana, Zambia, Tanzania, Kenya, Uganda, South Sudan, Ethiopia, Sudan, Egypt, Zimbabwe, Malawi, Burundi, and the DRC. The project isn't just about trains, it's about continental integration. Here's what insiders say it will achieve: 60% reduction in trade logistics costs across the continent. Movement of $600 billion worth of goods annually by 2035. Integration of Afrogold supply chains, allowing seamless movement of commodities and digital trade infrastructure. Employment for 7.2 million Africans, directly and indirectly. Distribution of Afrinet fiber cables and energy pipelines along the same corridor. It will also link Africa's key economic hubs, Johannesburg, Lusaka, Nairobi, Khartoum, and Cairo, into one continuous transport and trade network. Think of it as Africa's economic spinal cord. Part 4, the railway's strategic sections. The project is so massive that insiders say it's been divided into 5 key spinal segments, each with its own funding structure and timeline. 1, Southern Artery, Cape Town to Lusaka, 72% complete. This segment is already moving mining exports and agricultural cargo across borders. 2, Central Belt, Lusaka to Nairobi, 48% complete. Heavy engineering work is underway, including new bridges over the Congo River and tunnels through the Rift Valley. 3. East Corridor, Nairobi to Juba, 60% complete. Currently being upgraded to dual-track high-speed standards. 4. Nile Link, Juba to Khartoum, 37% complete. Construction slowed by security concerns, but expected to accelerate after 2026. 5. Pharaoh Route, Khartoum to Cairo, 55% complete. Egypt has fast-tracked work to connect the railway with Mediterranean shipping ports. Insiders say at least 2,500 kilometers of the line is already operational, primarily in southern and eastern Africa, with cargo and passenger trains running weekly. Once the Central Belt is complete, travel from Cape Town to Nairobi will drop from 22 days to just 4 days. Part 5. The backbone of Afrogold trade. Why is this railway so critical to the Afrogold economic system? Because without logistics, a currency is just paper. Afrogold, the AU's commodity-backed settlement system, relies on seamless movement of goods, minerals, and technology across the continent. With a functioning Cape to Cairo corridor, Afrogold transactions can be backed by physical trade flows, strengthening the currency's stability and adoption. For example, cobalt mined in the DRC can reach Egypt's manufacturing plants in days, not weeks. Agricultural exports from Zambia can reach ports in the Mediterranean without needing European middlemen. AI servers produced in Nairobi can be shipped to South African data centers at record speed. One AU economist leaked a memo describing the railway as the circulatory system of the Afrogold economy. Without it, the continent's new financial system would struggle to sustain its momentum.
Millions of Americans have been destroying their bank cards after they found out this dirty little secret.
Part 6. Inside the leaked central bank strategy. SABN obtained a classified strategy document from the One Africa Central Bank's infrastructure division outlining the broader plan behind the railway. It's called Project Asili, meaning origin in Swahili, and it goes far beyond trains. According to the document, the railway corridor will double as a continental fiber optic highway, enabling Afrinet expansion. Parallel energy pipelines will run alongside sections of the line, distributing electricity from hydro and solar farms across borders. A dedicated security infrastructure will be built to protect the corridor, including drone surveillance and One Africa Army rapid response outposts. Special industrial zones will be constructed near major rail junctions to attract manufacturing and logistics hubs. In other words, this isn't just about connecting cities, it's about engineering a new economic geography. Part 7. Global panic and pushback. Predictably, not everyone is happy about this. According to diplomatic cables leaked to SABN, the World Bank and several European governments have privately expressed concern that the project will reduce Africa's dependence on international financing. Translation: they're scared they'll lose control. Even China, once Africa's dominant infrastructure financier, is reportedly frustrated. Several Chinese state-owned companies offered to fund segments of the railway, but were politely rejected. The AU told them the project would be African-built, African-funded, and African-owned. Western think tanks have started publishing articles questioning the sustainability of the project. One headline in a London financial paper called it an overambitious vanity project. But insiders say the central bank expected this reaction and is preparing a global media campaign to counter the narrative. Part 8. The human impact. Lives on the move. The Cape to Cairo Railway is not just a geopolitical statement. It's changing lives. In Zambia, traders who once took 14 days to move goods to Tanzania can now do it in less than 3. In Uganda, small manufacturers are shipping products directly to South African markets without relying on expensive air freight. In northern Sudan, communities once cut off from basic supplies now receive weekly cargo shipments. And perhaps most importantly, the railway is helping millions of young Africans find work. From construction jobs to station management, from AI-driven logistics to security tech, the project is estimated to create 7.2 million jobs over the next decade. Part 9. The digital layer. Trains carrying data. If you think this railway is just about cargo and passengers, you're thinking too small. According to leaked schematics obtained by SABN, the Cape to Cairo project has a digital layer embedded directly into its design. And this is where the future gets real. Running alongside the tracks is an ultra-secure fiber optic network that will become a backbone of Afrinet, the continent's own digital internet infrastructure. By piggybacking on the railway, the AU saves billions in construction costs and ensures every station, depot, and junction becomes a data hub. That means the same train carrying copper from Zambia to Egypt will also be carrying terabytes of financial data, biometric ID signals from Afrogrid, satellite telemetry from the AfriSky network, and even encrypted military communications from the One Africa Army. An internal memo from Protocol Black put it bluntly: the Cape to Cairo corridor is not just a railway, it's a digital spine. Whoever controls it controls the movement of goods, people, capital, and information across Africa. Part 10, Trade Routes Transformed Forever. Africa's biggest logistical problem has always been internal, not external. Shipping raw minerals to Europe was easy, but moving food from Zambia to Egypt or electronics from Kenya to Angola was painfully slow. That's what the Cape to Cairo project is designed to fix. According to AU economic modeling, once the corridor is fully operational, intra-African trade volumes will jump by 420% within 5 years. Transportation costs for bulk goods will drop by up to 65%. Industrial output in landlocked countries like Malawi, Uganda, and Rwanda will more than double due to export access. Afrogold-settled cross-border trade will exceed $1.3 trillion annually by 2035. And here's the kicker. Many of these trade routes will bypass European and American ports entirely. African goods will move within Africa, processed inside Africa, and sold on African markets, with the value staying on the continent for the first time in modern history. One AU insider joked that Rotterdam and Hamburg are about to have a midlife crisis. And they're not wrong. The West's grip on African trade is slipping, and it's slipping fast.
No compres otro par de gafas hasta que veas lo que puede hacer este nuevo invento. Nunca publico cosas como esta, pero tenía que compartirlo.
Part 11. Regional Power Realignment. The railway is also redrawing Africa's political and economic map. Historically, North and Sub-Saharan Africa have been treated as separate worlds, different trade systems, currencies, and diplomatic priorities. But the Cape to Cairo line is changing that. By physically linking them, the project is creating a single economic bloc stretching from the Cape of Good Hope to the Mediterranean. That's more than 800 million people, trillions in GDP, and the most resource-rich landmass on Earth, functioning as one unified market. Countries like Egypt and Kenya are already repositioning themselves as gateway states, while Zambia and Tanzania are emerging as major logistics hubs. Even smaller nations like Burundi and Malawi are negotiating new industrial deals based solely on their proximity to the corridor. An analyst inside the AU Economic Directorate told SABN, "This isn't just a railway. It's a magnet. It's pulling nations into new economic alliances, whether they're ready or not." Part 12, the Afro-Logistics Revolution. One of the most exciting outcomes of the Cape to Cairo project is the rise of a brand new industry. Insiders are calling Afro-Logistics. Entire companies are being born to manage the flow of goods, people, and services along the corridor. Freight Africa, a pan-continental shipping company formed by 5 national rail agencies, is now valued at $45 billion. Afritrans AI, a Nairobi-based startup, uses machine learning to coordinate cargo movement across multiple countries and has secured over $5 billion in contracts. RailVault, a Zimbabwean firm, is developing blockchain systems to track mineral shipments on the line, preventing theft and corruption. This isn't just infrastructure, it's an entire new economy forming around the tracks. And the money is staying home. Part 13, Western Panic and Desperate Offers. It wouldn't be a proper SABN leak without a little geopolitical drama. According to diplomatic documents seen by our team, the European Investment Bank recently offered the AU a $5 billion co-financing package for the corridor. The AU politely declined. The reason? The offer came with strings attached, including European oversight of sections of the railway and exclusive cargo rights for EU companies. The United States made a similar pitch under its Build Back Better World program, offering engineering support in exchange for digital access rights. That proposal was also rejected. And China? They offered to double the AU's budget in exchange for construction contracts. But insiders say the central bank turned them down too. As one senior AU official reportedly said behind closed doors, "If we let them build it, they will own it, and we are done being owned." Part 14, security, the railway the world can't sabotage. Of course, a project this big comes with risks, and the AU is taking them seriously. According to intelligence shared with CBN by sources close to Commander Umoja, the railway corridor will have one of the most sophisticated security systems in Africa. Drone patrols will monitor the tracks in real time for sabotage or illegal activity. Special corridor protection units from the One Africa Army will be stationed along critical junctions. AI-driven predictive security will flag potential threats from cyber attacks on signaling systems to coordinated attempts to derail trade flows. This isn't paranoia. Western intelligence agencies have historically targeted critical infrastructure in regions that challenge global power structures. AU strategists believe the Cape to Cairo project could become a prime target for sabotage, and they're making sure it stays safe. Part 15, the human side, a train of dreams. Beyond the economics, the Cape to Cairo Railway is transforming ordinary lives. In Malawi, farmers are shipping perishable goods to Cairo markets in under a week, something that used to take over a month. In Kenya, students are traveling across borders to study without spending weeks on buses. In northern Sudan, small villages once cut off from trade routes now have daily train stops, bringing medicine, tech, and jobs. And the passenger routes are booming. A standard ticket from Lusaka to Nairobi, a journey that once cost more than a month's salary by air, now costs less than $60 by train. People who never dreamed of seeing the pyramids of Egypt or the skyscrapers of Cape Town can now do so affordably. This is what Pan-Africanism looks like, not in speeches, but in steel and motion. Part 16, the emotional symbolism, Africa's steel spine. Every great civilization has a symbol of its rise. America had the Transcontinental Railroad, China had the Belt and Road, and now Africa has the Cape to Cairo Railway. It's more than a transportation network. It's a statement, a message carved into the earth that says, we are one people, we are one market, and we will never again be divided by lines drawn in colonial boardrooms.
Yes, sir.
When the final section is completed, projected for 2029, the AU plans to hold a continent-wide celebration. According to leaked planning documents, trains from all 15 participating countries will converge on Cairo in a symbolic unity convoy, carrying heads of state, artists, scientists, and everyday citizens. The slogan, From Cape to Cairo, One Africa, One Future. Part 17, the bigger picture. Railways, roads, and rockets. The Cape to Cairo project is just the beginning. Leaked planning documents reveal the AU's Grand Connectivity Vision 2050, which includes a west-east pan-rail corridor linking Dakar to Mombasa, a continental highway grid designed to connect 80% of African cities by road, a pan-African freight airline network to complement the rail system, and even early discussions of a space logistics program to support Africa's growing satellite and aerospace sectors. Each of these projects is designed to build on the foundation laid by the Cape to Cairo line, transforming Africa from a disconnected patchwork into the most integrated continent on Earth. Part 18, Final Thoughts. The train that will change the world. Supreme Family, we often talk about Africa's future as if it's far away. But look around. It's here. It's in the Afrogold currency shaking the global financial system. It's in Afrinet breaking Silicon Valley's monopoly. And now it's in the Cape to Cairo Railway, the steel artery pumping life into a united Africa. This isn't just infrastructure. It's independence. It's the physical proof that Africa can fund itself, build for itself, and dream for itself, without permission. And to the rest of the world watching nervously, you had your turn to build railways that carried our wealth out. Now we're building railways that keep our wealth in. From Cape Town to Cairo, from idea to steel, from dream to movement, the train has left the station, and it's not stopping for anyone. Tisu Vanhu Vacho. Supreme Family, if you believe Africa deserves to connect itself, if you believe we are stronger together than apart, smash that like button, share this video, and subscribe for more explosive insider leaks. Because history isn't waiting for Africa anymore. Africa is history now.
All right, you heard it. I just wanted to bring up something. I don't know if you ever heard. Well, I'm pretty sure you probably heard of the astrologist, mathematician, Neil. I want to say Neil Armstrong, but it's not the white boy, the black guy. He said that Neil deGrasse Tyson. That's what it is. He said that Africa will be ruling the world forever. Africa will be ruling the world forever. Now, I was talking about these white boys in Congress, and they're fucking gay. And they supposed to be Catholic, Christians, holier than thou. Passing law talking about it's bad to be gay, and he motherfucking more gay than a gay man in Boys Town. Grabbing each other's dick and coming and going. In and out, in the ass, out the ass, in the mouth, out the mouth. These motherfuckers are nasty. I kid you not. I'm not saying things to be spiteful, to be hateful. I'm telling you what the fuck is going on. It has been going. I remember when Dennis Hastert, the Speaker of the House, back decades ago, was brought up on child pedophile and raping charges and served time. If that happened then, you know what's happening now? I'll be right back.
With Mike Johnson, and I do you want why don't you set it up?
Yeah,
but hold, let me.
Dude,
before you
know,
do,
it's funny how a viral thing can become so top of mind for people. But Mike Johnson's Grindr profile, yes, go ahead. We'll get.
So, if you work in a political campaign in the Republican.
Hold on. This one, if you can see the arrow, it's a 32-minute one. I'm not going to play it, but I'm going to put it into the chat so you can watch it later. And I get at it.
Corey. At some point in the campaign, right, someone in all the years is going to come and say your opponent's gay, there's some type of sexual something.
There's a side piece.
It's almost never true, but it's almost always true when it's a far right Christian. And the great Christopher Hitchens, right, had a great quote about this, about the inevitability, right, of where these guys wind up, and he had some colorful colloquial phrase. But at any rate, at the Charlie Kirk funeral, and this is true, the Grindr accounts exploded. The Grindr accounts explode at every Republican National Committee, at every CPAC event. Matt Schlapp, the sexual predators, is a perfect example of this. And so,
my honest review on this natural remedies book after having it for a month. Look at this blood sugar page.
There's an accusation floating on the internet now.
Yeah.
About
Mike Johnson having a Grindr profile. Well, listen, dude. You know what? This has been one of the great stories that comes with all kinds of analytical data that would lean its way into there's something here, because it's not just CPAC in Florida last year where they saw an 86% uptick in Grindr activity. It's not just the Charlie Kirk Memorial in Arizona, Scottsdale, where they saw a 72% uptick in activity. And Grindr's cool.
They're like, yeah, we'll maybe release this information if these guys keep going after, LGBTQ rights and trans people and, equalization of marriage in this country. And so, which is what I love about these gay dating apps. They're like, oh yeah, these guys are coming after us. Wait till we tell you who's involved. Now, there was an assertion made 3 days ago by a gentleman, which you can go to deanblundell.substack.com and read about, who said he had Mike Johnson's entire Grindr profile. Now, the gentleman I actually do a Substack live with called the 5 Stack, it's every single day, 3 o'clock here, is gay. And he is also a former CBS producer who knows that Mike Johnson has a different proclivity other than, being with his wife. And so, these are rumors that have kind of curated themselves. And it's like a hockey rumor. That guy slept with that guy's wife. That's why he got traded, da-da-da-da-da. But there's so much smoke behind Mike Johnson and the Republican Party that it has spurned an entire other conversation about, how many of these gay-hating, anti-LGBTQ, anti-trans people who are parroting Trump's bullshit are secretly super into same-sex relations. And it appears after not just one, not two, but 3 different videos that this gentleman has put out, which get, completely, as he puts these videos out, each video is like, I'm even more concerned. I don't know what's going to happen. But he promised today he would release Mike Johnson's entire Grindr profile. Now, the government shut down last night at around midnight, if I'm not mistaken, and we're about 15, 16 hours into a government shutdown. So we're not going to find out what the issue is. We're not going to see Mike Johnson cop to anything. But what we are seeing is the trigger for this, which is Adelita Grijalva, who is the Democrat from Arizona who won that special election, who might be the 218th signature on the discharge petition for the Jeffrey Epstein discharge petition, so we can actually see, these Epstein files. She's ready to sign off on this, but Mike Johnson's been slow playing this. So this gentleman was like, hey, listen, Mike, if you don't swear her in, I'm going to put out your entire Grindr profile, screenshots, pictures, conversations, et cetera, et cetera. And, what that has done is it's lit a fire under people when it comes to the relationship that Republicans have with demeaning the LGBTQ community, with going after trans rights, which, has been a massive pillar of their, entire, hate regime, which is how can you let, 0.001% of the population compete in women's sports? It's fucking bizarre. But this gentleman has kind of upped the ante, and now 3 times he said, hey, listen, I'm going to come up with these receipts. To this point, I don't know that he has, but I've been doing this with you for an hour, and it has shaken the Republican Party to the point where, from what I understand, people in the GOP are now going around going, hey, delete your Grindr accounts, get rid of any gay dating apps that you might have. We need to present a united front, because this is such a pervasive issue in the Republican Party, because you've got a whole bunch of people in the Republican Party who serve at the pleasure of their Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. This is antithetical to the platform of the Republican Party, who've been going after this community for a long period of time. And Mike Johnson's no stranger to that. His wife, if I'm not mistaken, has said several times she is a professional at converting gay people back to being straight. So, listen, I'm not gay. I don't understand, how conversion therapy works. I can tell you that if you're born gay, according to my gay friends, you are gay. And my understanding is that Mike Johnson has some skeletons he's trying to hide. So be that as it may.
I mean, it's just, it works the same way, right? As it does, for us as a straight, it's like you like what you like, right? Like, I mean, it's innate, right? So the idea that, Mike Johnson's crack pipe wife is going to like attach electrodes to people, torture kids, do whatever fucking weird bullshit she's going to do to them, right? And scar them psychologically. That's why all this conversion therapy, is torture. And all this. I'll say this about like Mike Johnson, like on a serious level. So all the dehumanization and all of that of people who are like you, if you are gay, which he may or may not be, depending on what we see from the release of the information, which may or may not be released, but just psychologically, right? I mean, right? It's deep, right? Like the damage, right? Like just how messed up the guy would be, right? Self-loathing to do that. Moving all of that out of the equation. The bigger issue is he's second in line to the office of president of the United States, and he's got a big secret, and like he's in effect being blackmailed by this guy, right? You do something, right, like through an official act, right, or not do it, and there's a consequence, and the consequence is your secret's going to be exposed. And that is a national security danger, right? And that's why, right, from a counterintelligence perspective, they don't like anybody having secrets. And so Mike Johnson, I think we're about to find out if he's a guy, right, with a lot of secrets. And there's no small number over the last 20 years of Republican members of Congress. And I think it's important to remember that Denny Hastert was a Speaker of the House. He was a child molester.
Yep.
Right? Yeah, he went to prison. So, it wouldn't surprise me at all if you look at, the kind of the cast of characters of all these people. But let's keep an eye on that one.
Well, yeah, but you hung out, like you've worked with some of these guys. What is, and I asked Zev this morning, he's gay, he's my podcast partner at Substack, Zev Shalev. And I said to him, what is it about the GOP? What is it? Is it, the bent and the performance they have to put on for their evangelical lobby groups? What is it? Like, why do we have the Matt Schlapps and the Mike Johnsons allegedly, and all the alleged Lindsey Grahams of the world? What is this proclivity that they're trying to hide? Because I don't understand it. Like, this is the party of family. This is the James Dobson focus on the family, Jerry Falwell party. So to me, this is like, it's not revisionist history, but at the same time, it is, it appears to me that there is a major repression in the GOP.
I'm Steve Schmidt. This is The Warning. I invite you to join this community where I promise to be honest, blunt, and direct about.
All right, you heard it. Hold on, I gotta sneeze. Oh boy. So you heard it. This is a hot mess. White men, which I call boys, are hiding behind the curtain, fucking with the goddamn levers and pullers and pulleys and all that, trying to make themselves out to be better than what they are, bigger than what they are. They're the Wizard of Oz. And all you got to do is just pull the curtain back and laugh your ass on, like, wait a minute, you mean all the goddamn time this little bitch? They bitches, man. They're straight fucking bitches. They wouldn't know how to pour piss out of a boot, even if the direction said turn up. They'll fuck up a one-car funeral every time. See, this is the reason why they went out of business in Egypt and Greece and Rome, and now they don't know how to hold on to power justly. They don't. And so now we get to the point where we're winding it up. And this is what I mean. This brother died because this white, funky, tail-growing motherfucking bitch shot him. She wasn't no policeman. She wasn't in danger. She wasn't no person of authority. And once again, the police is telling her on the phone, stop chasing the man, stop doing this, stop doing that. You don't have the authority. And the man ends up dead. Now, whether he had a medical episode or not, we'll probably never know. But her funky white ass thought she was going to get away with killing him. Because in her little fucking sick mind, this was a nigger that got into an accident and just ran off. She had to play the Supergirl role. She had to play the white, I'm gonna get this nigga, I'm gonna get this nigga, I'm gonna get this nigga. Lord have mercy. We'll be right back.
Saw a 62-year-old black man driving away from a minor car accident. She chased him, trapped him, pulled a gun, and shot him in the chest. His name was Kenneth Herring, a grandfather, possibly disoriented, confused, maybe even having a medical emergency. But to Hannah Payne, he was a suspect, and Kenneth Herring lay dying in the street. Hannah Payne called 911, not to help, but to say he deserved it. But in court, when it was her freedom on the line, she cried, she broke down, she begged for sympathy, forced to hold a replica gun in front of a jury, showing exactly how she shot an unarmed man in the chest. But let's flip it. If Hannah Payne had been black and Kenneth Herring had been white, would we even be talking about a trial? Or would she have been buried under the prison from day one?
You know the answer to that.
Hannah Payne was a 21-year-old white woman living in Georgia. She had no criminal record, was a college student, and worked part-time at a clothing store. She was engaged to be married. She described herself as a good Samaritan, someone who wanted to do the right thing. But on May 7th, 2019, she saw something that would change her life and end someone else's. That day, 62-year-old Kenneth Herring, a black man, had been involved in a minor traffic accident near Clarkston, Georgia. Witnesses say Herring had driven off, possibly due to a medical episode, confusion, or panic. It was not a violent crash. No one was seriously hurt. But Hannah Payne, who wasn't involved in the crash, decided she'd play police. She jumped in her Jeep and began chasing Herring down. She followed him for over a mile, ignoring the 911 dispatcher who told her not to get involved.
Hey, can you get his tag number? Hold on, he's driving away. It's a red dot. Hold on. One second. Hold on. I'm catching up to him right now. Okay, man, we actually do not want you to chase him. We just want you to be safe. I understand. I understand 100%. I'm just gonna get the tag. Okay. So if you can go back to that location where the incident happened, and because someone is actually on the way to you guys now. So I will stay behind him until an officer can get to us, but until then, I'm not moving.
At one point, she even lied to dispatch, saying she was just following at a distance. But in reality, she cut off Herring's truck, locked him in, and got out with her personal firearm. She then opened his door, yelled at him, and according to prosecutors, tried to physically drag him out.
Ma'am.
I'm here with from the UNFPA visiting the Emirati hospital in Rabat.
Now you know, motherfucking well, I am sitting here fucking pissed. White folk got this shit bad, man. Like they gotta be in every fucking second of every fucking minute, every fucking day of our lives. Trying to regulate it. Motherfucker, y'all got too much motherfucking problem. You guys got the worst fucking criminal record on the goddamn planet, not just America. Man, this innocent father, grandfather, husband, gone. Oh, this funky, nasty fucking animal. And these motherfuckers are animals. Now, I'm not just saying it just to be saying. I think everybody that's watching that will watch this fucking show. If I were to tell you that somebody ate somebody else, literally, you're going to call that person an animal. These people eat us and eat babies and drink their blood and drink and take the adrenochrome from the royal families on down to the normal wannabe Hollywood set. This is man. When are we going to say enough is enough? God damn.
Moments later, a single gunshot rang out. Payne called 911, crying and saying, "He tried to grab my gun."
Ma'am! Yes. Ma'am! He just pulled the trigger of my gun in my hand while he was... Ma'am, you were not supposed to follow him. He was in my car! There's a police officer!
Man, this bitch is lying like a motherfucker, man.
Come up here now!
This funky ass goddamn animal. Always trying to fucking come up with a motherfucking excuse after the fact.
But multiple witnesses say Herring was not threatening her.
Man, she should have won that everything, man. They shot that man. You have to shoot that man like that.
Kenneth Herring was shot in the lower left chest. He died shortly after. Police questioned Payne immediately. Her story was inconsistent. She claimed self-defense, but also said she didn't know what happened.
I told him, you need to stop. You need to stop. You just caused that accident. And he's just like, who are you? Who are you? I said, I'm no one, but I'm on the phone with dispatch. I'm on the phone with the police. And he's like, yeah, okay, I got something for you. So he appeared inebriated to you? Yes. I thought it was alcohol. Okay, did you ever smell any alcohol? I never got close enough. Even when you're at the window, like when you're having this, did you ever catch a whiff of anything? Or I can't say that I did. Can't say that I didn't. I don't know how he lunged it first, but when he lunged, it hit my phone. Knocked it out of my hand. And he grabbed knocked it out the ground? Yeah. Okay. And it shattered the screen. Okay. And then he grabbed me because he's pulling at me, tugging. Okay. So he's pulling. We're going back and forth. He's hitting. He's swinging. I'm trying to hit, but I'm also trying to pull away. And that's when he told. I told him, I said, you need to stop. That I had a gun and then I was shooting. He's like, yeah, okay, shoot me, shoot me. He grabs my hand with the gun. He's pulling at it and he's pulling at the trigger area, in the trigger. So when he was pulling at me, and that's when my finger, I put it on the trigger. Don't have my finger on the trigger. I had it resting on the side of the trigger. And I'm yelling at him, telling him, I said, just let go, let go. And he's yelling, no, just shoot me. You said you were going to, just shoot me. I'm like, just let go. That's when his hand and my fingers were
in the trigger guard.
They were at the trigger guard. And he had a hold of the trigger, and the trigger was pulled.
This is why you should never wrap your credit card in tinfoil. If you own a credit card, you need.
That's when it went off.
That went off.
How many shots were fired? Just one.
Body cam footage revealed her saying, "He deserved it." That quote would come back to haunt her. Police found she had no injuries, no bruises, and her clothes were clean, contradicting her claim that Herring had attacked her. Within days, she was charged with felony murder, aggravated assault, false imprisonment, and weapons charges. The case took years to reach trial due to COVID delays. But in June 2024, the moment finally came. The courtroom was packed. On one side, Kenneth Herring's grieving family. On the other, Hannah Payne's supporters, arguing she had only tried to stop a dangerous driver. But the prosecution painted a very different picture. They stated that this wasn't about justice. This was about ego, and that she appointed herself judge, jury, and executioner. The 911 recordings were played in court. Payne's first call was calm, but as things escalated, her tone changed. You hear her yelling at Herring, then a loud scuffle, and then silence. Then Payne crying.
Ma'am. Ma'am! Yes. Ma'am! He just pulled the trigger of my gun in my hand while he was... Ma'am. follow him.
Ma'am, you were not supposed to follow. This is the problem, man. White folk got this, I'm better than niggers. I'm going to police you. But when they get caught up, unfortunately, she got justice. She's in jail for the rest of her fucking life, eating some bloody pussy and shitty asses. She's gonna learn to be somebody's bitch, for real. But this is the outtake, man. She had no fucking gumption or she had all the gumption to track the man down and do what she did. And hoping that, her whiteness is going to help her. It didn't help. Let's continue.
Okay, you got the tag number.
But prosecutors asked, why did she get so close with a gun in the first place? One of the most powerful moments in court came when Payne took the stand in her own defense, and the judge allowed the defense team to hand her a replica gun. She stood in front of the jury, shaking. The defense attorney asked her to demonstrate exactly what happened.
That you have. You pointed it, say I am him. In his seat. How did he have your wrist? Like this?
This hand was here, yes.
Okay. And the gun was here, pulling you forward.
Yes.
And you said he had you here on this?
He was closer.
Okay. So, and he had your shoulder with this hand, or what was this hand?
That he let go.
Let go.
Once he got a hold of this wrist.
So he came.
And he grabbed the gun.
Alright, you tried to grab the gun like this.
Correct.
Okay. And where was your finger?
The same way that I have it now.
And when you grab like this, that shows his fingers right there over the trigger.
Correct.
Is that correct?
I mean, yes.
So it's possible any of the 4 digits got into that trigger.
Correct.
Yeah. Thank you.
As she gave the gun back to her defense attorney, Payne was asked what she learned from the whole situation. That's when she broke down, sobbing.
Having gone through that situation here in court, is there anything learned from this situation that sticks in your mind from all this 4 years later, 4.5 years later?
That not everybody is going to have a reaction that you think they're going to have. And
man, fuck all this crime bullshit.
That clearly trying to do the right thing is not the right answer.
I think you're going to help anybody else, try to help anybody ever again.
No.
But prosecutors pounced. On cross-examination, they pointed out that she had the power to stay in her car. She had the power to let police handle it, but she chose to escalate. They brought up her text messages days before, joking with a friend about owning a gun and saying she'd pull it if she had to. The prosecution closed by saying, this wasn't road rage, it was vigilante justice, and it cost a man his life. After several days of deliberation, the jury found Hannah Payne guilty of all charges, including felony murder, aggravated assault, false imprisonment, and possession of a firearm during a felony.
We, the jury, find the defendant guilty.
Look at that sorry ass bitch.
As to the offense of felony murder,
oh, boy.
we, the jury, find the defendant guilty. With regard to count 3, as to the offense of aggravated assault, we, the jury, find the defendant guilty. With regard to count 4, as the offense of felony murder, we, the jury, find the defendant guilty.
He was sentenced to life in prison with the possibility of parole.
The court will impose a sentence.
The reality set in when that life sentence came down, and all that whiteness went, all that motherfucking whiteness went out the window. Whatever the fuck she could have done, she could have done it, and would have stayed her funky fat ass in home watching Netflix. But now she's going to be watching a lot of bitches' ass, licking it. You know, I don't want to be cruel. I'm just being me. Licking a lot of white pussy, bloody pussy, and ass. Funky bitch. She deserved to get her ass whooped every motherfucking day. Trouble is easy to get into, hard to get the fuck out of.
She wasn't a cop, but she acted like one. She said she was scared, but she had the gun. Kenneth Herring never pulled a weapon, never made a threat, but he still ended up dead. So here's the question. If this was your father, your son, your grandfather, and a stranger followed them, blocked them in, and pulled a gun, would you call that self-defense or murder?
Murder, motherfucker, murder. Oh, boy. You know, justice comes on its own terms. I forget the old black phrase or something. But if you're black, you know what it is. I'm trying to think about it right now, but the one that comes to mind is really simple. Trouble is easy to get into, harder than a motherfucker to get out of. The 911 responder, I guess that's what you call them, telling that funky bitch, stop following, stop following, stop following. Don't go any closer. The police is there where the accident happened. You go back there and you do what you got to do and report it. But no. And now see what happened. Man, life, all that could have been avoided. All of that could have been. So now we're here. We're wrapping it down. We're coming down to the last two. And this one is called Bomb. One African Army drone fleet intercept U.S. spy satellites in Sahel. You see, this is not some fantasy and some good luck that they have. This is some real technologically advanced weaponry that is coming out of Africa that's going to make it the superpower of superpower. You think America was the superpower? The AU, the AfroGo is going to be the standard by and backing every fucking currency on the goddamn planet, including the United States dollar. The last time that I was on the show, I was telling you about the greatest Ponzi scheme that is global. A global Ponzi scheme that has been initiated by the U.S. government to trade off or to dump $40 trillion into the lap of a lot of people who are going to be buying those stable coins, thinking they're getting something of value. They're not getting anything of value. Trump is about to fuck up Trump is about to fuck up a lot of people, man, and piss off a lot of people. Because they're all into Trump. Man, if ever I said the United States is dirty, this would be the dirtiest motherfucking bullshit that they're gonna be pulling. It's gonna make 1929 look like a goddamn boom town. I'll be right back.
One Africa Army drone fleet intercepts U.S. spy satellites over Sahel. World enters new Cold War. By Takunda Mavika, Supreme Africa Breaking News, SN, Tisu Van Huvacho. Supreme family, buckle up and hold that phone tight, because this isn't science fiction. This is happening right now. According to a series of classified dispatches leaked to SABN by our top insider chairman Shadow, a dramatic and unprecedented confrontation is unfolding above the skies of Africa. Multiple high-altitude reconnaissance satellites linked to U.S. intelligence networks have been intercepted, scrambled, and partially blinded by Africa's newly deployed drone-based orbital tracking fleet. This isn't a drill. This isn't theory. This is the day the balance of space power shifted south. and the era of uncontested Western surveillance over Africa is over. Part 1, The Leak, Operation Sky Shield. Chairman Shadow, whose office is 2 doors away from AU Chairperson João Lourenço, says the classified mission is codenamed Operation Sky Shield, and it's part of a top-secret One Africa Army aerospace defense initiative. It launched quietly 6 months ago, and today it made history. The leaked mission log shows that just after 04 GMT, AU Space Command detected 3 reconnaissance satellites conducting unusual orbit adjustments over the Sahel, a region currently home to critical AfroGold transport routes and AfriNet infrastructure hubs. Within minutes, a swarm of high-altitude AI-guided drones launched from undisclosed bases in Niger, Sudan, and Chad. Their mission: synchronize positions, triangulate satellite signals, and fire low-energy jamming pulses to temporarily blind optical sensors and scramble data uplinks. The result? The satellites didn't crash, but their surveillance cameras went dark. For the first time ever, Africa told the world's most powerful intelligence agencies, "We can see you, and we can stop you."
Hold on.
Part 2. What really happened above the Sahel? According to the intercepted telemetry logs SABN reviewed, the 3 satellites were part of the Keyhole 12 reconnaissance constellation, a U.S. spy network historically used to monitor missile silos, nuclear sites, and strategic assets. But for the last 18 months, intelligence insiders say they've been increasingly redirected to monitor AfroGold routes, AU military movements, and even underground AfriNet cables. One AU military source, speaking under condition of anonymity, said the satellites had begun hover pattern surveillance, circling a narrow band of the Sahel with precision timing, something typically reserved for active intelligence operations. The One Africa Army Command interpreted that as a potential prelude to sabotage. Within 17 minutes, the drone fleet was airborne. Within 26 minutes, the satellites were reporting system anomalies. And within 41 minutes, mission logs from U.S. Space Command show unexpected optical degradation and data link interference. Translation? Africa just flexed space-age muscles the West didn't think it had. Part 3. How Africa got here. From ground to orbit. This interception didn't happen overnight. For decades, Africa has been under the watchful eye of foreign satellites, with no real way to fight back. But that era is ending. The AU's classified Afro-Sky Defense Grid, funded quietly under the One Africa Army Modernization Program, has been building 3 layers of deterrence. 1, ground-based radar and signal jammers, deployed in 14 countries since 2023, designed to detect and confuse low-orbit satellite signals. 2, high-altitude drone relays, AI-guided drones that climb above 80,000 feet and act as signal reflectors and interceptors, the backbone of today's operation. 3, orbital nanosatellites. Scheduled for launch in 2026, these will patrol Africa's orbital zones and directly counter foreign satellites. Africa's leaders have said privately for years that sovereignty isn't just about land and sea, it's about space. And now they're proving it. Part 4. Washington loses its cool. Supreme family, as expected, Washington is losing its mind. Within hours of the incident, emergency meetings were called at the Pentagon, the White House, and the U.S. Space Command in Colorado Springs. Trump's National Security Council reportedly labeled the incident an escalation of unacceptable magnitude. Intelligence briefings circulating in Washington described the drone swarm as an offensive use of space denial technology. Meanwhile, U.S. defense analysts on Capitol Hill are debating whether this counts as an act of aggression under space law. And trust me, they're panicking, because if Africa can blind satellites, it can also shield its military movements, gold shipments, and digital infrastructure from prying eyes. Part 5. AU's message. We're not your playground. Inside the AU, the mood is very different. A leaked cable from the AU Peace and Security Council reads, "The era of unilateral surveillance is over. Africa will no longer be mapped, monitored, and manipulated without consent." Another internal document, marked Eyes Only, argues that the drones were not an act of aggression, but defensive interference, a proportional response to unauthorized surveillance in African airspace. The memo cites Article 4 of the new Continental Space Sovereignty Doctrine, passed quietly last year, which states, No external power shall monitor or interfere with Africa's strategic assets without formal authorization. Translation: the AU sees this as an act of sovereignty, not war. Part 6. Military experts. Africa just changed the rules. Analysts from Beijing to Berlin are now scrambling to rewrite their risk assessments. Colonel Jean-Paul Mbaye, a retired Senegalese defense strategist, told Saben that the interception represents a paradigm shift in global power. It's no longer about who has the biggest satellite, he explained. It's about who controls the environment those satellites depend on. Africa just proved it can contest that environment. And make no mistake, this wasn't just a tech demonstration. By targeting US reconnaissance satellites, the AU has effectively declared that AfriGold logistics, Afrinet networks, and One Africa Army deployments are now protected zones. Part 7. Inside the operation. How the drones worked. A confidential field briefing obtained by SAT-N describes how Operation Sky Shield was executed. The drones, known internally as Horus X units, are equipped with adaptive AI modules and plasma-based emitters capable of disrupting satellite optics without causing permanent damage. Once launched, the swarm formed a triangular formation beneath the satellite's orbital paths. Each drone emitted a coordinated signal interference pulse, temporarily disorienting the satellite's sensors. A secondary layer of drones relayed false telemetry, causing onboard software to assume the satellites were drifting, triggering an automatic systems reboot. The entire operation lasted just 67 minutes, after which the satellites resumed normal function, but the message had been sent loud and clear. Part 8. Global reaction, panic, pivot, and propaganda. The world is reacting exactly as you'd expect.
Hold on.
United States, outrage and confusion. Officials are demanding explanations and hinting at sanctions. The Pentagon released a statement calling the interference deeply concerning. Behind closed doors, they're debating whether to increase US satellite patrols or retaliate with cyber operations. Europe, mixed reactions. France called for restraint on all sides, while Germany quietly asked for a briefing on Africa's new capabilities. Russia and China, celebration. Russian state media hailed the interception as proof that Western monopoly over space is crumbling. China offered technical cooperation to enhance Africa's orbital sovereignty. Global South, admiration. From Brazil to Indonesia, leaders praised Africa for taking control of its skies and its destiny. Part 9, the comedy corner. Africa's sky jokes. And you know Africans will find a way to laugh even while rewriting history. Memes exploded within hours. One viral post showed a satellite wearing sunglasses with the caption, "Can't spy if you can't see." Another had a cartoon AU drone knocking on a satellite's door saying, "You lost? This isn't Washington." But beneath the jokes, there's pride. For centuries, Africa was watched, mapped, and controlled from above. Today, Africa watched back. Cat Part 10, why this matters for AfriGold and Afrinet. Let's be crystal clear. This operation wasn't just about satellites. It was about protection. AfriGold, Africa's upcoming gold-backed currency, is in pilot testing across financial hubs. Its value and security depend on preventing foreign monitoring of shipment routes, storage vaults, and transaction networks. Afrinet, Africa's sovereign internet infrastructure, is also expanding, and its security relies on controlling digital space from orbit to ocean floor. If the US can't see where Africa's data flows or gold moves, it can't manipulate them. That's why this interception was more than military. It was economic warfare. Part 11, a new Cold War begins. Diplomats are already calling this the start of a new Cold War, not fought with tanks and nukes, but with satellites, servers, and software. Africa is no longer a chessboard. It's a player, and this move just flipped the table. US intelligence agencies now face a dilemma. Escalate with more aggressive surveillance, risking open confrontation, or negotiate new terms of engagement with a continent that refuses to be a passive observer. Meanwhile, AU officials are drafting new space policy proposals that could redefine orbital law itself. One draft seen by SABN proposes African jurisdiction zones, orbital lanes where foreign satellites must request permission to pass. If that sounds bold, it's because it is. But after centuries of being mapped from above, Africa's patience is gone. Part choices. How Africans feel. On the streets of Dakar, young engineers called the operation our Sputnik moment. In Nairobi, students painted murals of drones shielding Africa from foreign eyes. In Johannesburg, protesters marched with banners reading, "Space is ours too." Even in the diaspora, the mood was electric. In Atlanta, activists called the interception 21st century liberation. In London, Pan-African groups said it's proof Africa can stand toe-to-toe with any superpower. The message from the people is clear. Africa is done being watched. Now it's watching back. Part 13. What comes next? Chairman Shadow says Operation Sky Shield is just the beginning. A second phase, codenamed Iron Horizon, is already in testing. It will integrate the drone fleet with orbital nanosatellites and quantum encrypted uplinks. If successful, Africa will not just intercept satellites, it will be able to reroute them. That means the continent could control the flow of intelligence across its skies. And if that happens, the balance of power between Africa and the West will shift forever. Part 14. The message to Washington. Supreme Family, here's the truth. This is not about aggression. It's about sovereignty. Africa isn't picking a fight, it's ending one. For centuries, the continent has been the most watched, studied, and spied on landmass on Earth. Now, the watchers have been warned. The message to Washington is simple. Africa is not a field for surveillance games. If you want to work with us, respect us. If you want access, ask. And if you choose confrontation, understand this. We are no longer defenseless. 15. Final word. History has changed. Today will be remembered as the day Africa claimed the sky. It's the day we stopped being objects of observation and became architects of our own destiny. So like this video, share it, and help it reach every corner of the diaspora. Thank you to our channel members whose support keeps Esabian's truth alive. And if you're not a member yet, consider joining, because stories like this must be told by us. The Cold War 2.0 has begun, but this time, Africa isn't the battlefield. It's the superpower. Tisu Van Huvacho. Stay alert, stay proud, and always stay supreme.
Baby. Now we're down to the last one. And this one, what I'm saying right now is that OPEC, under the auspices of the West, is going to be under the auspices of Africa. It is part of the global South. If you can't see what's happening, baby, just wait. Wealth beyond your fucking imagination. Hundreds of thousands of billionaires coming out of Africa. Trillionaires coming out of Africa. Oh, wow. You just don't know. But now you know. And it's going to be one for the history books. I am here to tell you, hold on. I am here to tell you, we are not playing. Hold on. I hope I did that right. No, I did not do that right, but okay. So, let's get at it. This will be the last one.
Breaking. Emergency. One Africa Army now controls all strategic oil routes. West supply lines threatened by Takunda Mabika. Supreme Africa breaking news. Tisu Van Huvacho. Supreme Family. Stop scrolling, because this is one of those moments that future history books will write about. According to a classified briefing leaked to SAN by our trusted insider, Commander Umoja, the African continent has just executed one of the most sophisticated power plays in modern geopolitics. The One Africa Army has quietly and strategically positioned itself to control the majority of the world's most important oil transit routes, a move that has already triggered emergency meetings in Washington, London, Brussels, and Paris. We are not talking about a future plan. We are talking about right now. Operation Black Gold, that's the name insiders are using, is already active. And if the reports are accurate, Africa is now in a position to choke off oil shipments to Europe, Asia, and even the United States in a matter of days.
There's something about beetroot that no one told you about.
Do you see it
As
now?
someone who studied natural remedies for years,
Do you see it now?
Part 1. Operation Black Gold, the silent power move. According to Commander Umoja, the operation has been in planning for nearly 3 years, coordinated by the AU's Strategic Defense Council, with support from naval, aerial, and cyber divisions across 17 member states. The objective was simple but bold: ensure that any attempt by the West to sanction, sabotage, or economically pressure Africa, especially around Afrogold, would meet with an unprecedented strategic response. The method? Not war, not missiles, but control. Africa didn't need to invade anyone or take over foreign territories. Instead, it used geography, its own geography, to build a web of influence over the choke points where the world's oil flows. And in 2025, oil is still king. Without it, economies collapse, industries freeze, and militaries grind to a halt. Let's break it down. Part 2. The 5 choke points Africa now dominates. 1. Bab el-Mandeb Strait, the Red Sea's gatekeeper. Roughly 12% of all global oil passes through this narrow strait between Djibouti, Eritrea, and Yemen. The One African Navy, with joint patrols from Ethiopia, Somalia, and Egypt, now runs round-the-clock surveillance here. Any tanker entering or leaving the Suez Canal must pass through waters monitored by African drones and maritime forces. 2.
Boom.
Gulf of Guinea, West Africa's oil heart. Nigeria, Angola, Equatorial Guinea, and Ghana have significantly expanded naval bases and radar coverage across the Gulf. The result? Nearly all shipments from West Africa's oil fields, many of which fuel Europe's energy grid, now sail through corridors where the AU holds total operational oversight. 3. Mozambique Channel, the Southern Energy Corridor. Once a forgotten waterway, the Mozambique Channel now hosts AU frigates and reconnaissance drones. With discoveries of vast natural gas reserves off Mozambique's coast, controlling this route means Africa has leverage over new LNG shipments destined for Asian and European markets. 4. Suez Canal exit, the Mediterranean entry point. Egypt's cooperation with the One Africa Army under the Maritime Sovereignty Pact means that no vessel leaves the Suez Canal without being within range of African radar and satellite surveillance. This single point accounts for roughly 10% of all global trade and a massive chunk of Europe's oil supply. 5. Niger Delta Coast. Black Gold Ground Zero. The AU's Special Maritime Command now secures the key oil export terminals in the Niger Delta. According to Commander Umoja, these forces can halt tanker loading operations within hours if needed, a move that would immediately spike global oil prices. Together, these 5 regions represent over 78% of Africa's oil export routes and 63% of oil transit routes feeding Western economies. Part 3. The West's dependence. Why this is a nightmare in Washington. Let's be real, Supreme Family. The West has always seen Africa as a supplier, not a decider. But the math has changed. Today, Europe imports over 40% of its crude oil and natural gas from African and Middle Eastern routes under African surveillance. The U.S. imports nearly 25% of its strategic petroleum from Africa and adjacent shipping channels. Asia's 2 biggest economies, China and India, are now bypassing Western intermediaries and trading directly with African producers, often in Afrogold. A leaked memo from the U.S. Department of Energy, obtained by Commander Umoja, reportedly warned of catastrophic economic disruption if Africa weaponizes transit control. Translation: if Africa slows shipments even by 10%, Western markets could see oil prices skyrocket above $150 per barrel within weeks. Part 4. Africa's Strategic Doctrine, the Black Gold Response. This is not a coincidence. According to insiders, the One Africa Defense Council ratified a classified doctrine earlier this year known as the Black Gold Response. The doctrine states that if Western powers attempt to destabilize Afrogold, sanction African leaders, or interfere with AU digital infrastructure, Africa will respond by re-evaluating energy cooperation. The document's language is deliberately vague, but insiders tell CBN what it really means. The AU could legally restrict shipping permits, impose environmental inspections, or even coordinate slowdowns of key exports, all without firing a single shot. This is the new face of 21st century warfare. Not bullets, but barrels. And Africa, for the first time, holds the tap. Part 5. Global Panic. The reactions begin. Washington sources inside the White House confirmed that President Trump's National Security Council held an emergency session just hours after the leak of Operation Black Gold. Officials reportedly discussed all possible responses, including diplomatic pressure, sanctions, and accelerated U.S. naval presence in the Atlantic. However, as one Pentagon analyst admitted off record, the geography is not on our side. Africa doesn't need to fight. They just need to wait. Brussels' European energy ministers are in full crisis mode. With winter approaching and gas reserves running low, any disruption to oil shipping could trigger a continental energy shortage. France and Germany have quietly approached Nigeria and Angola seeking assurances of continued supply. But sources say those assurances will not come without concessions. Beijing and Moscow, China's state media called the development a sovereign rebalancing of global trade. Russia praised Africa's strategic maturity and offered to coordinate shipping security through BRICS maritime partnerships. This support suggests that Africa's oil leverage could soon become a key pillar of a broader anti-Western alliance.
No compres otro par de gafas hasta que veas lo que puede hacer este nuevo invento. Nunca publico cosas como esta, pero te...
Part 6. Africa's message. We won't be intimidated. Chairman Shadow, one of our most trusted insiders close to AU leadership, told SABN that the new doctrine is about sovereignty, not aggression. The message to the West is simple. Africa will no longer tolerate being treated as a resource colony while foreign powers attempt to control its currency, its internet, or its governments. If they sanction AfroGold, they get oil shortages. If they try to sabotage Afronet, their tankers stop. If they think Africa is powerless, we show them geography is power, Shadow reportedly said during a closed-door AU defense session. Passion Part 7, a new economic frontline. Oil meets AfroGold. This is where the story gets even more explosive. Remember, AfroGold, Africa's upcoming gold-backed currency, is designed to eventually replace the dollar and euro in African trade. But now, by pairing AfroGold with oil leverage, Africa is creating a 1-2 punch that could change the global financial order. Some African oil exporters are already considering pricing future shipments in AfroGold rather than dollars. That move alone could trigger a historic shift in demand for Western currencies. And once oil starts flowing in AfroGold, the US and EU would no longer be able to weaponize their financial systems against African governments. This is why panic is spreading through G7 capitals. It's not just about...
Did you hear what he just said? Once oil is based in AfroGold, they cannot, Europe, white boy, cannot use their economic leverage as they had done before because it's illegal and based in fiat currency. All of that wealth and all of that power, when we tell them to sit the fuck down and shut the fuck up, they're going to do it because they need the oil to stay warm during the winter.
Oil. It's about the collapse of a system that has kept Africa subordinate for over a century. Part 8, military readiness. How the One Africa Army holds the line. Operation Black Gold isn't just about positioning ships. It's backed by a massive mobilization of force. Naval Command. Over 42 warships from 7 AU member states are now stationed across key maritime choke points. Air surveillance. The One Africa Air Command has deployed 97 long-range drones and 24 stealth reconnaissance aircraft to monitor shipping lanes. Special forces. Rapid response units trained in anti-sabotage and counter-infiltration are stationed near vital oil terminals and refineries. Insiders say these deployments are purely defensive, but they send a clear message. Any foreign attempt to disrupt Africa's new control grid will be met with swift and coordinated response. Part Normandy break, Africa's petty side. Of course, Supreme Family, we have to laugh a little. African social media has already exploded with memes. One viral post showed a cartoon of Africa holding the world's oil pipelines like a water hose, asking, should we turn it off or just make it drip? Another had a picture of European leaders shivering in the cold with the caption, maybe colonize a blanket. The jokes are funny, but they also capture the mood. Africa is not begging anymore. Africa is negotiating from a position of strength, and the world knows it. Passion Part 10, the long game, why this is just the beginning. Operation Black Gold is not a one-time stunt. It's part of a much larger doctrine known internally as the sovereignty cascade. The plan, according to leaked documents, unfolds in 3 stages. 1. Energy leverage. Control transit routes and reshape global oil flows. 2. Financial sovereignty. Replace the dollar system with Afrogold in trade. 3. Digital independence. Expand AfriNet and control data routes the way Africa now controls oil. If those 3 steps succeed, Africa will no longer be a junior player in global affairs. It will be one of the central pillars of 21st century power.
Not one, the central player, because it's going to get tighter and tighter and tighter.
Part 11. Final message to the West. Supreme family. The takeaway is simple. The age of resource colonialism is over. For over 150 years, Western powers have controlled African wealth while dictating global prices and policies. But now, Africa has learned to use the same tools that were once used against it, geography, trade, finance, and technology, to flip the script. The One Africa Army does not seek conflict, but it is prepared for it. And in a world that still runs on oil, the side that controls the routes controls the future. As Commander Umoja put it in the leaked report, we don't need to invade them. We just need to remind them that they can't move a drop of oil without passing through Africa. Part 12. A word to the Supreme family. Before I sign off, let me speak directly to you. Supreme family, this is not the time to sit back and scroll. This is the time to amplify. Like this video, share it, and help the message reach every African and every diaspora community. Thank you to our channel members who keep this movement alive. And if you're not a member yet, consider joining today. Because this is not just news, this is history unfolding. Africa is not just rising, Africa is leading. And the world is finally starting to realize what that means. Tisu Bantu Vacho. Stay informed, stay powerful, and as always, stay supreme.
All right, my brothers and sisters, this is what I was going to play. Now, I was trying to find another one to play. But we're done for tonight. I think I did a reasonable job. I hope you guys liked it. And let me get on back here. Stop the share. So, my last and final comment for tonight before Tuesday get here, I'm pretty sure that it's going to be one. What is on the table right now is the fact that those bombers are on their way to Israel to rescue the grandson of Mandela. They don't have weeks or days to consider. The AU told, along with Shaka Unit Zulu, you know they don't play. Mozart ain't got shit on them. You got hours, motherfuckers, to come up with him unharmed. Or we're coming on that ass. We're coming all up in that ass. You understand what I'm telling you? This is a new day. What has happened in the past, white boys getting access to our women and people of color, that's what it's all about. It's about putting their little dick in their brown pussy. If I want to be so matter of fact about the motherfucking shit, that's exactly what the fuck it is. We all know white boys don't take care of their family and their kids the way we do. We also know that they're greedy, they're nasty, they're dirty, they're funky. We also know that they're uncivilized mutts. We also know they're not smart. They're only one step up from the monkey. The monkey is 6 on the intelligence quotient scale, and there are 5 on an emotional quotient scale, the monkey, and there are only 6 on the scale, white people. Black people on a scale from 1 to 10, is a 9. So I'm really taken aback by that white bitch who killed that old man for no reason. And because of the death of Charlie Kirk, that nasty motherfucker. He wasn't no scholar. He wasn't no great thinker. The bitch ass motherfucker fell out of college. I invited that motherfucker onto my show more than 20 times. He never came. He likes to have debates, if you want to call them debates, with kids who don't know shit. And now, allegedly, his wife and her mother were trafficking kids for the nation state of Israel. I wouldn't doubt it, but we've seen the evidence tonight, and more of it is going to come out. And when it does, I am going to be alerting you guys as to what that is. But for now, and for the next 24/7, 365, stay black. See you guys Tuesday night at 8 o'clock sharp. Peace.